Oh no, poor John Ludwig.
Oh, the champions, like, some teams just don't get
Oh,
any luck.
what a
Huh?
blunder. F5. That's blunder of the week. Oh no. So we'll have to
Let
go
me see
back.
that. That was Finn.
That was,
How did that happen?
oh, that was so bad.
Oh man. Oh, that's just too much.
Yeah,
Just
that
too much.
can't happen. He could have just taken on H4 instead he puts F5 and losing the spot.
Oh
So,
no. Oh man, that's the thing. It's like, yes.
and we're live. Hello, this is Grandmaster Robert Hess here with fellow Grandmaster, my good friend Irina Krush. Irina, how are you feeling about the Pro Chess League Week 8 action that we're about to see today?
Well, I'm really excited because we've got some great matches coming up with a lot at stake.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. With playoffs just around the corner, we only have 2 weeks left in the regular season. That is tonight's matchup and next week. The playoffs will be almost set, actually, after this week. And, I'll bring up the Atlantic Division standings, which we're about to cover here. And we see that in first place, clear first place, the Webster Windmills. Irina, are you at all surprised by their dominating performance this season?
I'm not too surprised. I think any team that's called Webster, does pretty well in team competitions. I think it's Susan Polgar must be somehow behind this team, isn't that so, Robert?
Yeah, she coaches the players there at Webster University. They've been a powerhouse since she's arrived from Texas Tech. And, well, to me, it's also no surprise to see players like Laquan Liam, Ray Robson, Alexander Shamanov, and the rest of the company dominating this league. But what about the Pittsburgh Pawn Grabbers? To me, they're one of the more surprising teams because they have Alex Shabalov, who is a four-time U.S. champion at the top, but Wonder Liang has been the surprise performer thus far this year.
Yeah, I mean, when the young players do well, it's never really surprising, I guess, because that's what you expect them to do, right?
Yeah, he is young, he is improving, and he will be facing off against these top players in the U.S. Championship coming up. So we'll see how he does in that setting. I'm going to scoot on over to some of the other standings because we had matches earlier today. The Central Division, Stockholm Snowballs are in the lead there with the Marseille Migraines. Both have 5.5 out of a possible 8. So they're doing very well in that division, followed by Caen and Ljubljana. I always mess up the pronunciation of Ljubljana. So
I
if
think that's
you
right, Ljubljana.
Oh, well, that's the first time I
I
got
don't
it
know,
correct.
reading that, it's hard to see how else you can pronounce it.
Well, I know you're better with these names than I will be. And so we'll jump on over back to the Eastern standings as well, because the Delhi Dynamite, they're in first place, tied with Armenia and Mumbai Movers. So a three-way tie atop the division. And I know people are shocked that the Norway Gnomes have slipped out of the playoffs because they lost today. In fact, they got dominated. But they're just one game behind Estonia Horses, and in fact play Estonia next week for all the marbles in that final playoff spot. So, Irina, do you think that Magnus and company can jump back and leapfrog the Horses of Estonia?
Well, is he going to be playing next week? I guess that's the question.
Well, the lineups won't be announced until
I
right
mean,
before.
maybe Magnus can. I don't know if company can.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and he's not playing in the candidate matches, so he doesn't have to worry about that, I guess. But some of these other top guns for these teams, Fabiano Caruana, who we'll see playing tonight, he is going to be busy in the candidates next week, along with some of the other top players in the Pro Chess League. So it'll be interesting to see that performance.
How about Anand? Has he played his match yet for the Mumbai Movers?
He has played 2 matches. The first time he went 2.5 out of 4, so it was a bit of a struggle for him. He drew 3 low-rated players before winning a game, and then I believe he went 3.5 out of 4 in his second go-around. Which, okay, that's a great performance, no matter what team you're facing. So, great job thus far by Vichy, and it's great to see him online on Chess.com.
So, which matches tonight are you really looking forward to, Robert? I think there's 2 that sort of stand out for their importance.
Well, I would say that, of course, seeing Montclair fight for a playoff spot. I have to be honest, I played for Montclair last year, so I do have a little bit of bias in favor of the Montclair Sopranos, but they have their back against the wall, and they're playing the St. Louis Archbishops, which, Irina, I think you know just as much about that team as anyone, because between Fabiano Caruana, Varuja Nakobi, and Yaroslav Zerbuk, you've played these opponents and seen many of their games. So do you think that Montclair has any chance?
I have played all 3 of those guys. Robert, you're right. I've been quite different players, but yeah, I've had a chance to play all of them. I think I've only played Jerebuch once though last year. I mean, I've played Akobian many times, and I even got a chance to play Caruana. I mean, before he became like kind of a more rare bird in open tournaments. I had a chance to play him a couple of times. Yeah, so this is a really big match for Montclair, and it's a little bit too bad for them that their best player Alex Lenderman is already off to Iceland and won't be playing this match. We actually talked about him, playing from the airplane, trying to get hooked up to the Wi-Fi, but it didn't sound like a very sound plan.
And you and I both know Alex quite well. He's very dedicated to both the game of chess and his team. So if there was a way for him to play on the airplane, he definitely would have done so. But of course, he cedes board one to Sergei Ehrenberg, himself a very strong player. And I'm always curious, Irina. Throughout these matches, you see these top-heavy teams. And St. Louis is stacked with Fabiano Caruana, Varuzhin Akobian, and then Yaroslav Zherbuk. And their board four, for the most part, has been sort of a free point. Forrest Chen, up-and-coming player, but when you're playing 2400s and 2500s round after round, you're going to generally get the donuts. So what do you think about the stacked lineup versus the more even set lineup?
Well, it's interesting. I guess if we just look at what's going on, I mean, the Archbishops are doing pretty well, but still they're only in place number 4 now, right? So they're not like dominating with that lineup, even though they got such an impressive lineup. And you got like the Pittsburgh Pawn Grabbers and Minnesota Blizzard, which are kind of more balanced teams actually ahead of them.
Yeah.
So probably I would say that the more balanced lineup seems to pay off in these team events.
Yeah, and Webster in first place. They have a very strong top couple boards, but they also are rounded out by some great talent with Joshua Kolis and Grabinski on board 3. So they've
Do you know anything about this guy Grabinski? I mean, because he has the same last name as the author of a very famous book, right? Perfect Your Chess.
Right.
That was Vladimir Grabinski. Is that his son?
I have no idea, but we can pretend that he's the son just for the sake of the broadcast. If that makes
it's a kind of a rare enough name, for him, and him also being a chess player.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how Grabinski will feel against the Pawn Grabbers. If he's a little bit greedy against the Grabbers and Grabinski.
If he wants to grab some pawns.
Yeah, he might find himself in a little bit of trouble against the likes of a Wonder Liang and Alexander Shabalov. And this division is very interesting because we're going to talk, of course, about the Chessbrahs, and they're a fan favorite. Everybody loves themselves some Chessbrahs, but I don't know. They've 2.5 out of a possible 7. They've been struggling. I said before the season that losing Fabiano Caruana and Li Chao is a huge loss, and their fans got really mad at me because they have very dedicated and loyal fan base. But today they have Hou Yifan making her debut in the Pro Chess League, which is very exciting because, well, Irina, you've played Hou Yifan before. I've never had that chance. We both know she's incredibly talented. And I wonder if she feels like she's something to prove because her past on Chess.com been the Speed Chess Championships where she's lost her battles. So I wonder if she wants to prove herself against a Buenos Aires team that is struggling in the Pro Chess League, but still is quite a decent team nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely coming in at a critical time for them, right? Where last 2 rounds are being played and they are half a point behind Montclair. So if Montreal wants to stay in the playoff race, they're going to win tonight. So she's going to have to play a big role for their team tonight, as well as a Robin Van Kampen. So far he hasn't, performed, I guess, up to his standards in the league. He's played 8 games and scored 3.5. But actually, Montreal has quite a good team with like Raja Panjwani and Michael Kleinman on boards 3 and 4. So if everyone just like performs at their level, I mean, I would expect Montreal to go through tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I pulled up the games arena because they've just gotten underway. And I have Hou Yifan's game on the screen right now because she's playing Maxi Perez. And don't underestimate Maxi Perez. I believe he went 3.5 out of 4 one week. He's a 2399 rated board 4. And anytime you have an international master on one of your bottom boards, of course, they're capable of scoring some good points. So in this game thus far, we see a sort of weird Maroczy bind setup for white.
It actually started as an O'Kelly variation, something I used to play as black a little bit. That's what she's trying. I've never seen her do that before because she's not really a Sicilian player, is she? I don't think that's her main opening. What is her main opening?
I believe she's more of an e4, e5 player, but I mean, of course she ventures out into the Sicilian as well. But yeah, this O'Kelly variation, I feel like it's generally a good opening to use against slightly lower rated opposition. And the idea now is, okay, well, White has done everything in the center. Black has put this bishop on b7, coming after the pawn e4. White is going to have to make a move like pawn to f3 or bishop to f3. The bishop on f3 is always weird because, one, your pawn on c4 is hanging in some variations, and two, that blocks your own f-pawn. So f3 was indeed played. Now bishop d6 feels like a very natural move here, Irina, coming for the h2 pawn.
Okay, yeah, I guess it's a big choice for her whether she wants to play with like the standard setup with d6, yeah, or as you mentioned, bishop d6. Well, she went for the more standard one, so I guess now we're going to see like bishop e3, knight b d7, queen d2, and we'll see where Maxi Perez puts his rooks.
Yeah, usually you want one on d1 and c1, or sometimes if you go pawn to b4 and make a pawn march on the queen side, your rooks may belong on b1 and c1. Or that's always the question.
C1 and then a4, a5 is also like a typical plan.
Exactly.
Okay, we won't see that.
Yeah, well, I mean, this will be a long developing game, I feel like, so maybe we can bounce around to some of the other ones. Let's get to Robin van Kampen's game. He is with the black piece against Mario Villanueva. So the top two seeds for Montreal have the black pieces, and RVK, as he's known, he's playing here with the black. Irina, what do you think about his initial setup against International Master Villanueva here?
It looks quite decent at first glance. I don't really see the problem here for black. I mean, okay, white's taking a lot of space on the queen side, so maybe he's going to get his knight to c4, right? Probably that's the idea.
Yeah.
And black, yeah, I mean, he's probably looking for the move d5 or maybe even c6 and d5. But yeah, I see this as like a decent position for black.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested that Robin has spent a couple minutes thus far, which is quite normal in the opening stage, and he did go for your idea c6, Irina. So d5 is definitely in the cards. One of the things that black always keep an eye on is e5 pawn. So when you go d5, you permanently loosen that protection. But I think with the knight on g6 is perfectly stable.
Yeah, I mean, white played bishop b3, I think, to go knight c4, and then the bishop is probably going to hide on c7.
Right, and now d5 comes in with a useful tempo.
Mm-hmm.
Although maybe bishop a3 there, the idea being if you go rook e8, perhaps white can try to move like b6 at some point, just sort of gaining more space on the queen side, although it does look a little weird to put that pawn on b6.
Yeah, that was a tricky idea that you mentioned. Yeah, that b6 move. I mean, black definitely wouldn't want to move his bishop back to b8.
Yeah.
Anyway, now we're in a slightly different position, and that bishop probably will come out to a3.
Right. It needs a diagonal to go to. It can't sit on c1 all game. So at some point it'll go on a3, likely with a tempo once black goes d5. And okay, I think black is quite solid, but you do have to be a little bit careful. And bishop c7 played first, perhaps just to avoid any problems on the b5 with the bishop.
What's kind of interesting about this position, Robert, is that the white challenge here is that he's got these two pieces competing for the c4 square, right? I mean, like on one hand, the knight is obviously perfect there, but when it goes there, it blocks the bishop.
Right. It's one of those positions where you would wish that we're playing like Saruman chess or something where your pieces could share the square and do multiple things at the same time. Kind of a knight. What's it called? A hawk? I forget the...
Yeah, or else, would be really nice for it would be to trade the light squared bishops and then just occupy the c4 square with a knight. And then I'd be pretty comfortable in saying that white is just better.
Absolutely. And let's hop around to the third game between Raja Panjwani and Andres Obregon, Grandmaster from Buenos Aires.
So we had an English opening there. Interesting. Raja playing some interesting move. E4, unusual. And, okay.
Yeah, we've seen multiple games with the c4, e4 setup, and this temporary piece sacrifice with going d4, hitting both pieces back. So you win the piece back, but black said, I don't need my bishop in this position. I'm just going to keep my pieces nicely centralized. And I don't know, Irina, I'm kind of old school in this regard. I love having the two bishops. So.
Oh yeah, white's just better here, right? I mean, bishop pair, space advantage. I mean, this certainly doesn't look like black is equalized out of the opening.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of black's position. I think it's solid, right? It's not that easy for white to break through, but soon enough, the move c5 will come, and now you start chiseling away at the black pawn structure. So I really like Raja Panjwani's position here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Could he actually go c5 like right now, or is there, I don't know, what's he gonna do, like knight c6? I mean, actually c5 looks possible. Pawn takes and queen e5. Okay, he didn't go for that. I wonder why. I mean, it seemed, was there d5 or no? There wasn't. So I'm not sure why he didn't go for that.
Yeah, maybe he's playing, just trying to wait. And that's something that I think when you're slightly outrated, of course, Roger is a very strong player. But
Yeah.
psychologically, I think sometimes lower rated players, in this case IM versus GM, they wait a little bit too much. Instead of taking their chance, they're like, oh, my opponent must have calculated correctly. I'm going to keep everything solid and make a move later. So I think c5, you're absolutely right, was the move to be played.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he might have just like, been trying to move fast and didn't really realize that he had a better opportunity. Because I think Roger's actually certainly the exception to like what you said, right? I mean, I think he's got a lot of confidence, and if he sees a good move, like he'll play it. So maybe he just didn't notice it, and now he doesn't have that chance anymore. So
Which is,
Black played, yeah, knight d7.
yeah, it's a bit frustrating that White now now or in the near future is going to go f4 and expand on the king side with the future of going f5 even because the bishop on e6 lacks space. Though this is another one of those moves where you have to wait and really be sure that f4 is a good move because it does make a concession in the center.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, f4, maybe he doesn't like it because of knight g4. I mean, that's my only concern.
Right, and this bishop is, well, the bishop can retreat somewhere, but yeah, it's a little bit loose.
It's a little awkward, and, there could be some move like, queen h4 and maybe even like c5, kicking that queen, I don't know, going to the f2 square.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's getting very aggressive and very sharp very quickly, and this f2 square in particular, as you mentioned, is one that White definitely has to keep an eye on.
So how is White going to play here? I mean, he can obviously play knight d5. Actually, I don't think that's such a bad idea.
Yeah, gaining more space in the center, and if Black ever wants to move the c pawn, you have to make sure that you can cover the d6 pawn, because a move like c6, well, that just loses a pawn right away once the knight moves back. So knight d5 is a good move, for sure. And that way the knight can also go to f4 to win the second bishop if need be.
Exactly. I mean, those two knights, like, yeah, they look kind of nice, but those are not actually outposts for them. They can, at some point, get kicked away. So knight d5, it makes sense to me. Okay. Well, I think it's going to get more exciting now.
I mean, that's a brave-looking move. I really liked your knight d5 move. It seemed simple. It seemed like Black couldn't really do anything to kick that knight out of the center. But right now, with the move f4, gotta be careful. I mean, Irina, the knight can go to c6, and then the other knight can move from d7, which makes space for this bishop on e6. But knight g4, your idea here with bishop, I guess bishop d2, queen h4, certainly that deserves serious consideration.
Knight g4, I mean, I don't think you want to take that knight, because then the bishop gets a tempo on the rook, and then probably it's sort of, he should be able to somehow equalize, maybe with a move like, although, maybe, you could consider taking the knight and just playing like rook d2 or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And
possible.
Irina, I think it's one of those positions where people fear having opposite colored bishops, but the white bishop will eventually land on d4 and it dominates the black knight. So it's the knights that really tell the tale in this position.
Yeah, I think White's bishop would be better than Black. So maybe that's sort of his simple approach, but I still think Black's going to play like knight g4. I mean, he doesn't really have a choice, does he? I mean, he doesn't have knight g6 and knight c6, queen d2. I mean, doesn't look that promising for Black.
Yeah, just look at the space that White has gained in the center with c4, e4, f4, and the bishop will come to f3 as well. It just, yeah, that's not a good looking position for Black. So you sort of have to go knight g4. And yeah, I think Raja's doing well. And knight c6 was played.
Well, we're not predicting their actions too well. But okay, but that's good news for Raja. I mean, he doesn't have to break into a sweat, I think, play queen d2.
I think, oh no, you don't really want to make a move like that, especially because this pawn is on h6, right? The pawn was on h7, a move like bishop h5 could be met by g6. But now there's some loose squares on the black king side. And even a simple move like pawn takes f5 followed by bishop f3 is good as well. So no, this is really not the position that Grandmaster Obregon wanted against International Master Panjwani. I
wonder what he's going to do here. I mean, well, there's bishop h5. He can throw that move in. He can make the simple move bishop f3.
Yep.
That's maybe not a bad idea, like something like bishop f3. I just wonder if, is there a value for kicking the rook?
Yeah, it's a pretty good question. Is kicking the rook to, let's say, f8 worth it? And I think what he did is smart because he just took on f5 and planted his bishop on f3. And yeah, I mean, the other bishop can now snake back to f2. The bishops on f3 and f2 just dominate the board. And I hate black's position for sure. The d5 square is now perfect for the bishop or the knight. So we do have more games underway, Irina. It looks like the Webster versus Pittsburgh match has just begun. So I'm going to open up those boards just so I have them on hand pretty quickly. But we can go wherever you want us to go.
Okay, well, let's take a look at what Atulya Shetty is doing. I mean, he is playing for Pittsburgh, and he's done quite well for them. That's the game ASMS versus Bank 2. They got some kind of an unusual position, but very similar to this one, right? I mean, it's not the same opening, but there's also this capture on kind of your knight takes e5.
Yeah, we've seen this theme twice thus far, and except with this one, white got the pawn on f2 captured. And for those of you at home who maybe say, well, my king is not safe, the king on f2 is actually very safe because black can't just attack with one or two pieces. So, you know, you castle by hand in the position. And Irina, what do you make of this after the hand castle here?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you know, instinctively, I'm always like on the side of the bishop pair. White's got the open file. But if we try to look at it from black's side, I mean, what does black have? He's got a pretty nice knight on e5. There's some weakness on that e3 square. Maybe if he neutralizes the bishop on g2, you know, black would love to trade those light square bishops. And he can't, can he go bishop d7 yet? I mean, he actually could consider it. You know, because on bishop b7, there's rook b8.
Right.
But I mean, he would love to put that bishop on c6, I think.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, trading off those bishops is certainly a priority from black's perspective, and Tomas Banush will look to do that. Though we start with the move queen e7, and I guess he's both protecting the knight on e5 and sort of eyeing that e3 square. You can't get there yet, that's for sure. But at some point,
queen e2 is, I think, a good move.
Yes, definitely a good move.
Simple connecting the rooks. And now there's no bishop d7. Well, so where is he going to put that light squared bishop?
It's a great question, and another big problem, Irina, is the knight on f6 can't move because the knight comes into d5 with another tempo. So not only do you have to keep an eye on this h6 pawn in case a bishop takes h6 sacrifices. It doesn't work yet, but just something that you always should be wary of if you're black in a position like this. But that bishop on c8 has no real home. You can go to e6, but it's a very passive setup because the bishop on e6 only protects the d5 square and doesn't actually attack anything. So I really love white's position here. The two bishops, again, I can say it time and time again, I'm old school. I love to have the two bishops.
Yes, me too, yeah. Maybe that's why they paired us to commentate together.
they know our styles mesh here.
What do Irina and Robert have in common?
We love the bishops, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, knight g6 is an interesting move. So maybe you're going to be removing one of the bishops, actually, right? Because on bishop e3, there's rook e8, and it's kind of, I mean, well, I guess you could hide him on f2. I don't know. Is it worth it?
Well, instead of rook e8, maybe knight g4 right away. Now, then knight d5. So I guess, yeah, maybe rook e8, hiding it on f2. It's possible. A little bit, you know, it takes a little bit of time, but maybe it's worth it. I mean, like we said, we love the bishops, so keeping it safe there might be a reasonable choice. Although, is the question I'm going to have, rook f2 was played. Is black really threatening to take on f4? Because once you take on f4, now I'm just lining up all my pieces on the f file, and you have to be even careful.
White will just take with the rook or something.
Exactly, and then once I double with the other rook to f1, you have to be careful about sacrifices on this f6 square, just blasting up the position.
That makes sense. I think, white is probably right not to waste too much time trying to save that bishop. Okay, bishop e6 kind of guards that d5 square. So white's going to play, now knight g4 is an idea.
That's very true. So rook f1 might just be met by knight g4, which is an important inclusion.
Yeah. So now he needs to figure out how to safeguard his rook against that knight g4 move. How is he going to do that?
Maybe h3. Not really a move you want to play because it sort of weakens your king side.
Yeah, he's just going to go knight h5, I think.
That's a good point. h3, knight h5, and all of a sudden your bishop on f4 is now under attack two different ways. The g3 pawn is a little bit suspect, and I'm so tempted to sacrifice on h6 because it's not my pieces, and I know that there's no
I just
punishment
want
for
to
me.
get that bishop out of the way, you know?
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
Unfortunately, here it wouldn't work. Yeah. I guess after knight h5, h3, h3, knight h5, it's also not really working, is it? Yeah. So,
Yeah,
huh. What did he misplay? We kind of liked all of his moves, right?
I still don't mind his position, but yeah, it seems like maybe rook f2 was a little bit imprecise. I actually was not a big fan of that move because if black takes on f4, you can take with the rook on f4. So maybe rook f2 is not a necessary move to make, and something
Yeah.
was there instead. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like there definitely was something that could have been played that was a superior alternative.
Okay, so he went for this h3, not because he really wanted to play that, but I guess the point is on knight h5, he's gonna let the bishop, I guess, be taken, maybe try to take with a g pawn. And that's possible, although, black's knight will get the h4 square.
Yeah.
Maybe the pawn will go to f5. Okay, it's kind of double-edged now, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a position where, yeah, you could take on f4, which puts your pawn towards the center, but once the knight gets to h4, now the white king side is feeling a little bit shaky. So knight h5 definitely looks like the best move here. And at some point, white has to consider playing a move like knight d5, just saying, please take my knight on d5, I'll get the unopposed light square bishop, and that's something to keep an eye on as well.
You know what's interesting? I was just going to tell you about the move e4 here as white, Robert. I was going to be like, I know it's an ugly move, but there is some point behind it. And then black plays rook d8, which kind of makes this move obvious,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like now he's going to play e4 because he doesn't want to be staring into that d5 idea on every move.
Right.
But e4, my idea was really that if knight takes f4 and we take with the g pawn, like we get a lot of space.
Oh, absolutely, especially now the knight is still on f6, because if the knight wasn't on f6, you could play f5 and compete for the f5 square, but now with the knight stuck on f6, e5 and f5 are both potential ideas, particularly f5, and yeah, white's spatial advantage is huge, not to mention the king can go to h2 and the rook can swing over to g1, and an attack can unleash and kind of speak for itself.
Well, we can take a look quickly at the game between Kleinman and Federico. That's Michael K versus Genghis.
Yep, absolutely. Whoa.
Michael Kleinman, yeah, is playing for the Montreal Chessbrahs, and he is playing Buenos Aires' first board now. It looks like, if we just count the pawns, white's up in pawns and white's up in position. Isn't he just crushing?
Absolutely, and that a pawn is the extra pawn, and that one's going to a6 next. And not to mention the knight on d7 is now on pre. The e8 square is kind of ripe for this knight on c7 to go to. There's got to be some mate in the air. Knight e8 check, king has to go to g8, and then some sort of queen g6 check, knight f6.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has to be.
Oh yeah, this is kind of ending very soon, and this is a great start for Montreal, who needs the win in the match so badly.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you're board 4 upsets the board 1, who is 200 plus points high rated, that's a great performance indeed. And it actually he went b4. His position is so dominant, he can do whatever he wants, and that's.
I have to say, yeah, Federico just kind of played the opening like very strangely. If you just look, it was not a classical opening, Robert, and I think he sort of paid the price for that. I mean,
and game over.
Yeah.
I'm going to scroll back very quickly just to see the opening. Okay, he played a sort of like hippopotamus type setup where, fianchettoed both bishops, played very slowly. And that's sort of one of those things that, I have to admit as a grandmaster myself that I've done this from time to time where I just hope to outplay my opponent. But it looks like Kleinman was ready for this action, and he broke in the center and just really just sort of crushed him. And that's I think could be in contention for game of the week from what I've seen from this one. But,
Let's go back to Raja and Obregon.
I'm there. Whoa. Okay, a lot has happened, and
yeah, now it has this thing. I mean, white's got the initiative, but it's not completely like one-sided. I mean, the black queen on e4 looks very nice.
Yes. But that knight on d5 looks like a total winner there because the knight e8 is dominated by the enemy minor pieces. The bishop on h4 and knight on d5. That pawn on c7, I want to attack it again, but I don't see a way to because the d8 square is covered by the knight on c6.
Well, you know what's interesting? Can he play like queen d4 sometime soon and like trade queens and then maybe like c6 and just sort of make a draw?
Yeah.
Maybe one idea. And the other idea is just knight d4 and c6.
Absolutely. Knight d4 attacks the pawn f5 as well. And it's important to note that the reason why queen d4 was not played on move 28 for black was knight e7 check was an important move. And that way, after the king moves to f7, the knight takes on c6, and black is indeed forced to trade queens. And once this queen trade happens, well, we'll see that the pawn structure, the change of the pawn structure certainly favors white, who can actually try to create an outside pass pawn. And the knight on e8 is totally dominated by the bishop on h4. So that was just something to keep an eye on, that tactic.
And, I think this move king f7 is quite clever because actually it's meant to be a prophylactic move against the move f6.
Right.
So now on f6, black is going to play g6, block the f file, and white doesn't have any infiltration squares.
Right, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, king f7, if the king was on g8, then the f6 pawn could go to f7. He played f6 anyway. I'm not a fan of that decision because now that pawn on f6 looks like a clear target.
No, I think things have changed here, Robert. I don't know what happened to white's, initiative that we saw from the opening, but I just don't think it's here.
Yeah, knight d4. Just now the knight can come to e2 with check if need be. The knight can come to f5, closing off the f-file and attacking the bishop on g3. I think the big problem, Irina, is that the bishop on g3, we've talked about how we love bishops. I don't love this bishop because that bishop is staring into a block of pawns and has no real future to speak of.
Yeah, I mean, g5 was a strong move, even better than g6. I mean, because he won a tempo, and I was like, instinctively, I wanted to, cover the light squares, but I just see in this position, there's no need because there's no queen coming to h5.
Right. And I'm going to scoot us over to the Shabalov game just because, well, one, I'm a big fan of his chess. I love how exciting his games are. And it looks like, in fact, he just won the game via resignation with the black pieces. And
all right, now which one is that?
He is a Super Bliss.
I found it against Colas.
And he won so quickly, we didn't even have time to look at him. Fast forwarding through the opening, just because it doesn't look like the opening was what solved the game. But, I mean, this is a typical Shaba, at least ending position, where, okay, he put his knight back to h7. That's an important move that he made. Opening the f5 square, the knight can hop over to g5 and start launching an attack. So white was playing principal chess in the d file, but unfortunately...
This is terrible, yeah. This is like... I mean, the light square bishop, what happened to him?
Yeah, and h4 is a weird move. Okay, you're losing the h3 pawn no matter what, but after h4, bishop b6 check, this pawn on h4 falls down. Next, with the king on h1, you're losing all your pieces on the board. So a crushing performance by Alex Shabalov over Joshua Colas, who is quite a reasonable board four to have. He's quite a talented player.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, just looking at the time situation, I guess I would just be like, well, if you're going to get this type of position, right, I mean, why not just use more time?
Yes, no,
you got 8 minutes. That's like more than half the time you started with. So you might have used it, to come up with, some sort of better strategy.
Irina, you and I are both chess coaches, so we're used to getting mad at our students for not taking enough time. And even when my students win, I say, why didn't you spend more time here? It was a critical moment. So nice win by Shabalov. And we also have the third match underway between Miami and Minnesota. So I'm just going to pull those games up, but we don't have to check those out now because other games are closer to.
Yeah, Hou Yifan looks to have a good position against Maxi Perez. I mean, we can take a look at that.
Okay, I'm going to pull that game up.
They are getting kind of low on time, and she's only got 3 minutes.
And she happens to be her first time in the Pro Chess League, one of the strongest players. There's enough reasons to look at her game. So let's take a peek. Oh, okay. My first instinct, Irina, is that e5 square is beautiful for the black pieces. I mean, that's just you see an isolated e pawn versus a lovely knight blockading that e pawn on e4. So. Oof.
Yeah, it's a huge positional advantage for black. Kind of positionally, white is busted here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is just awful.
The king is weak, the squares are weak, the bishop is bad. It's kind of bad.
Usually you have to sacrifice a pawn from black to get a position like this. So black's not even down material with the domination of the dark squares, and this e4 pawn is isolated. Like, you could even give white a pawn f2, and black is still doing very well.
Yeah,
but white doesn't have that pawn, and so this is a dire situation for Maxi Perez.
Yeah, so it's also funny because not only is the bishop bad, even the knight on c3 is bad.
Yeah,
you can't even move him to a4 because there's going to be like queen b4. It's very hard to improve white's pieces, and white doesn't actually have like a single, really good piece other than like the rook on d1 is fine.
Yeah, it's one of those positions where every single one of black's pieces dominates the opposing pieces. The bishop on b7 is phenomenal. The bishop on f1 is doing nothing but protecting c4. And as you mentioned, the knight c3 has no real future, whereas the knight e5 is a great piece. So I guess the other game in that, the Robin van Kampen game, is also coming down at some time trouble as well. And Robin van Kampen has the black pieces against Mario Villanueva. But, okay, it looks to me like, isn't black just up?
He's doing well. He's up in exchange, right?
I'm looking at the position like, wait a second. Black is up 3 minutes on the clock and has a great position. So yeah, we don't have to stay here too long. The point is that black is up material. The pawn on g2 can even be captured right. Oh, actually, that would be a blunder. I was thinking bishop takes g2, but then there's bishop d6 for white. It's kind of spying.
Yeah, I mean, on bishop d6, there's rook a d8, but I guess you lose the bishop on g2 in the end or something.
Yeah, it's like kind of playing. It's a domino effect. All these pieces are hanging.
Yeah,
but
so maybe you might not want to take that pawn.
But then the question is, where does the bishop go?
Oh, the question is also, what if he takes on c4?
Now meeting bishop d6, which is rook to d8.
Yes. Bishop e5, rook d2, bishop f4, rook c2.
Yeah, that's all.
I think bishop c4 looks okay, but maybe is there bishop b2? Is there something like that other diagonal that he's concerned about?
Maybe. I don't really believe in it because you can still go rook. Oh, rook d8 might not work
d8.
now.
Yeah.
You take me on d8. So that would...
yeah. No, wait. No. I can't take you on d8 because queen e1 is made.
No, but I'm going to show everyone that.
Yeah.
Queen e1 would be a nice back rank checkmate if this rook on e8 was not pinned to the king. So that's something I also overlooked in my initial calculations. So actually, bishop b2 is a really big threat because then the knight on f4 is still hanging.
You could go queen c3, right? And you get like this double attack on the bishop and mate. Well, depending on where the queen goes. I guess the queen's got to go to like c7. But then there's also like knight f5.
Yeah.
And actually, his move is going to be bishop b2, right? So,
yes. This is a dangerous position. I mean, he won bishop c4.
Yeah, it's not that simple. Those bishops are pretty strong.
Maybe you can go knight e2 check, just trying to trade off those knights. I think that might be the option.
Robert, there's going to be queen h6 there.
Oh, look at me blundering. Great call, Irina. After taking on e2, queen h6 check, this bishop on b2 pins the pawn on g7, and queen g7 mate is happening next. Wow. So
white's actually, I mean, he's going to have to take with the bishop on e2.
But the queen on e5 is hanging.
Oh, yeah. So what is he doing? He's just going to lose.
Wow, he just blundered.
Oops. Oops.
Yeah. I mean, he blundered the same thing I did because now all of a sudden, queen takes e2, queen h6 check is what you just showed me.
Yeah, that diagonal was quite a nice one for the bishop, but that's why the bishops like to be fianchettoed on the long diagonals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, both of the bishops are kind of beautiful. The bishop on c2 staring the pawn on f5 as well. So, yeah, bishop takes c4 could not have been the best move. I think that was that's definitely not the best option because even those positions we initially were talking about, Irina, where you take on g2 and end up losing the two pieces for the rook. At least that endgame, black is doing quite well. So, okay, now queen e7, still queen.
Now it's kind of game over. Well, I mean, even knight f4 looks extremely strong.
Oh, that's a great move. Coming to h5 or to g6, and all of a sudden, black's position is collapsing. So Robin van Kampen going down. Now they're fortunate that Michael Kleiman won his game. So
so it stays okay. But yeah, Kampen, that's the thing. I don't know. Oh, what it is, Robert, one thing that I've noticed is like the players from Europe who are playing in our Atlantic division, they're kind of struggling. Yeah. It's a pattern.
It certainly is. Week after week, we say the same thing. And I've been very hard on Fedoseev in particular, but they're playing at a very late hour. And maybe it's not the best to have a sort of free agent or kind of player who's playing across the sea. So let's see. Where else can we look? Hou Yifan's game is also coming down the wire. I think we should stay in this matchup just because the games have very little time left. Yep.
Well, Raja is down a pawn.
Ooh.
So kind of like we saw that he was going to lose that F pawn. He lost it, and now, he's struggling. I mean, he can still pull out a draw, maybe.
Yeah, he'd be fortunate to get a draw, but there are not that many pawns left, which is in his favor.
Yeah, so that's Raja's game, and now we got, Robin van Kampen we saw, and Hou Yifan.
Whoa, what's going on here?
Hou Yifan is doing well. Um,
So this e3 pawn looks like it's just heading towards promotion. Why did white not just take on g4? Is there something I'm missing here instead of I mean this
That's a good
move.
question.
Oh,
Yeah, why
queen takes
not?
g4.
Oh, there was queen f1 or something?
No, queen takes
there's
g4.
queen g4. Yeah.
Oof. So just to show everybody why that was not played was bishop takes g4. It looks like it's okay, but queen takes g4 check, knight e5 check, picks up the queen on c6. Black goes up a minor piece. So instead, the game ended in short order right here with queen f2 check, picking up the bishop on e2. So let's head back to these other games in this match. Sorry, Hou Yifan, you did win that game. Quite nice.
You know, we can take a look at actually this one looks interesting. Edward Song versus Li Kuang Liam. And if I am counting things right, Edward Song has an extra pawn and a good position.
Yeah, that's a big center if I've ever seen one. Pawns on e4 and d4. Black just down a pawn here. What is happening? Li Kuang Liam, I believe I chose him as my board one in fantasy chess. So hopefully everyone watching participates in fantasy chess. But yeah, Li Kuang Liam's position is not very good right now, nor is his clock situation. Everything seems to have gone wrong.
Yes. So now it's a matter of whether Edward Song can just hold off Black's non-existent counterplay and keep us cool versus one of the league's best players. Because objectively he's certainly doing well, and there really is no, I think, objective compensation for Black, but he's got some reasonable pieces. The rook's on the open files, the queen on a3. So now what should white do to make things better? He can't move his bishop on d3 because that allows rook c2.
Right. So white is a little bit tied down. He goes rook back to b2, a move that the good news is if the knight moves from f6, the bishop can always retreat to e3 or even go to e5, offering the trade.
What I was thinking? I mean, I liked the move bishop e5.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have just pinned down that, like bishop e5 now. Let's make sure we can trade some pieces here.
Yeah, bishop e5 now is great because with the rook on b6, maybe there's some knight d7 things. But here with the rook back on b2, bishop e5 just says, all right, if you want to move the knight, you're going to trade off that dark square bishop. Your king will become weaker. The knight on f3 has d4 very well covered. So bishop e5 is definitely a good move here.
Yeah, it's what does Black want? I mean, does he have rook c3 ideas? Maybe this is why he played rook b2 actually, Robert, because maybe he was somewhat concerned about rook c3.
Yeah, rook c3 is a bit of a nuisance, and it kicks the bishop from d3. Well, I guess you can go rook d2, but it essentially is trying to kick the bishop from d3, and with the rook now on b2, the c2 square would have been annoying to deal with. But now with the rook on b2, everything is well covered. So bishop d2 played, and that's a good move, attacking the pawn on a5. I was about to criticize it as being one of those sort of passive moves when you're playing a high-rated opponent, but it's a clear threat. That pawn on a5 is hanging, and it's actually not that easy for Black to defend it, and bishop e8. I mean, that's not a move you want to play as Black either. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I can't move the knight.
Maybe queen e1 now. Just hit that pawn. Keep hitting it.
Oh, that loses the bishop on d4.
Oh, I'm full of blunders today.
Anything except that. Let's see what else we can suggest.
So maybe, I was going to say bishop e1.
Okay.
To go rook b3.
Like, what's the idea of that move?
Rook b3 is coming next to kick the queen away from a3.
Oh, nice, yes. Exactly. Opening up the second rank for the queen. Ooh, you see, this is what I mean, Robert. Like, it's not that easy to put them away.
Right. Especially
now you can see the counterplay already, right? There's like knight f4, the d4 pawn hanging.
Yep.
I guess it's queen a4, right?
And I'm going to have to take us to the Robin van Kampen game because RVK has 16 seconds left and Villanueva's 4, and it should be a draw, right? Even without.
Wait, but this is shocking.
I don't know.
This is all very nice, but it's absolutely shocking. I mean, white had an extra like 2 pieces for the rook.
Yeah.
And a winning position, and now they're trying to make a draw.
Yeah, I mean, something went very, very wrong here.
Well, he needs to take his king to h1 and just sit there and give up that f3 pawn.
Right.
So he doesn't, need to lose on time.
Yeah, I think
he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to hurry.
Wait a second. Raja Panjwani won that game? So everything that we expected did not come true.
Yes.
Because Raja Panjwani was just down a pawn, and I'm switching over to that game, and then all of a sudden he's up a pawn and winning. So I think it looks like Black, I found on move 43, Black, knight c5 blundered the h4 pawn, and after that, all of a sudden his life was.
Oh, and then we saw why the bishop is better than the knight when there's pawns on both sides of the board.
Yes, the bishop can start running on both sides, and okay, now this h pawn ran free. So
yeah,
wow, all right,
that's incredibly sad for Obregon, who played a pretty good game. But that's great news for Montreal, because now, wait, this is like been an amazing match for Montreal. First round, Kleiman won, Pinjwani won.
And Hou Yifan
won. And now Van Kampen, okay, it's going to be a draw, but it could easily have been, well, what could it have been? It could have been the other way. It could have been 2.5, 1.5.
Yeah, and now it's 3.5.
Roger losing and Van Kampen losing. And so actually it's been a very fortunate match for Montreal.
Yep, it's about to be 3.5 to half for Montreal. They need it because they've been struggling a bit in past weeks. They've lost some games that they shouldn't have, and now this is much needed victory against the Buenos Aires team that is in dead last. So the St. Louis match against Montclair is also underway. I just pulled up some of those boards just in case, but the Pittsburgh Webster match is coming down to the wire in this first round, so we can maybe find a game there that may be of interest.
Yeah, well, I do think we can go back to Song versus Liam. I mean, he lost a pawn, but I still like his position.
I like his position more. It's one of those transitions where instead of having a material advantage, you have a huge, huge, huge positional advantage. In this case, look at the black king. Oh, that cannot be a move that you want to play as black.
That looks very suspicious.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Okay.
So
well, White just needs to figure out what to do with these bishops. You know what move I like here, Robert? I think it works. Queen e3 and like bishop e2.
Exactly. I was about to suggest the same exact thing.
Like very simple, just like rearranging those pieces.
Yeah, and look at the pawns that are hanging. The f6 pawn, the h6 pawn. No, this is king h2. What in the world?
So, I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to lose the a2 pawn or something. I mean, not that king h2 has much point. That just seems...
I can't understand that for the life of me. It's not like the G file is open. You can use it. What is?
All right, E5.
I mean, I know I'm being a little harsh.
You know, he should have used that tempo to attack a really important pawn.
Right.
Because now, by the way, every time you move your queen and you lose the pawn in a2, like f2 might actually hang.
Right. So queen e3, queen takes a2. Let's say you can't take on h6 because f2 is hanging with check.
Oh, he's doing his best not to win, I think.
I guess, yeah, I really don't like what he's doing. I mean, this is
I mean, Black's position is getting better. I mean, the knight's still kind of horrible, but at least it kind of guards the king side.
Right, and this bishop in a1 is now not that strong because the f6, e5 pawn structure is keeping it stuck.
No, the bishop on a1 could turn out to be just terrible now.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is a very strange couple of decisions for a player who was really just crushing his opponent. And actually, is bishop b5 here? A2 is hanging. That's the whole point. I was like, bishop b5 definitely is tempting because the queen is out of squares, but you got to protect a2 first.
No, this is like White's bishops. If you look at them, they're both like blocked in by pawns now, and the bishop on f7 is becoming really strong. So I think we've just seen the game actually change. And you know, that move king h2, you just can't really like tread water like that.
Right. And I just have to say, Irina, that Robin Van Kampen won on time. So from that dead lost position, he ended up winning.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's not something that should be happening.
Yeah, you should be able to draw with bishop versus rook, even with the 2-second increment. I know. But, well, these things happen.
Yeah, that's sad. It looks like Atulia Shetty is also doing well in his game against Tomasz Banush. So they're both in the same match here, Pittsburgh versus Webster. And Atulia Shetty is currently up a pawn. I don't know if it will stay that way, but he is up a pawn over there. Yeah,
it looks like it's going to be a draw, right? Or yeah, I think so. It's going to be a draw after rook e4, rook e6. Oh, rook e4, there might be king f5.
Well, then rook f4 check. Oh, but then king e5.
He's going to play for a win.
Yeah. I would be careful about that.
He's threatening anything, though. Maybe the guy can just go rook d4.
Or rook f6. Ooh, okay. I don't know if I like that move. He went rook e4 check. He could have went rook f6. Oh, but then rook takes g5 was hanging, I guess. Ugh.
Yeah, now this isn't right. I mean, he's going to take an h5, I guess, and hope that the g-pawn sort of goes, but...
But 2 is greater than 1. I learned that early on in math class. However, that g-pawn does go quite quickly.
Okay, well, actually, you know what? Maybe he was right. Maybe he's going to get enough play. Actually, most likely, yes. Right, Robert?
Yeah, because the g-pawn is so quick, and the black rook will go behind the pawn, so it should be enough to hold. But that was a good winning attempt. I mean,
Yeah.
you're no losing chances. Even if you lose your rook for that pawn, you're not going to lose the game because your king is very close to the queen side with those pawns. So.
Yeah, let's go back to Song versus Lee because they don't have much time at all, and it's still really exciting.
Whoa.
I'm just confused a little bit. Is that bishop on c3 hanging?
However, you have to be careful, right? Queen c3, bishop f7 check, king f7. Then there's rook b7 check followed by queen a2. And that king is not very happy.
Wow. Okay, he didn't risk it. Okay, I don't know. That's something really to calculate.
And with no time on the clock for Le Quang Lim, he's on 19 seconds. He clearly didn't want to get into those complications. But now all of a sudden, the white looks great. The queen on c4 is clearly better than the queen on a3. You're going to win back this a pawn at some point soon. And rook to b8.
Might just go rook a1 or something.
Okay, rook a1 was definitely stronger, and he went rook b5. But now, I don't know if I like this move a4 because rook to b8 at some point, probably bishop b4. There's more squares to attack.
I think he's going to trade and play rook b5, unfortunately. I think this is what's going to happen.
What about queen c8? You don't think he'll play that?
C8 is, that's the more interesting move.
But then queen c2.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate because queen c8. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're predicting.
I just had a feeling White had enough of the fireworks in this game, and he's gonna.
I think he might lose. I mean, I think honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. We've seen positions that are more drawish than this getting lost.
Yep.
So. It wouldn't be a total shock. I mean, I don't know, rook b6 or something. Okay, king f3 is fine. Someone offered a draw. Liam declined a draw. Wow. All right.
So decline. I would decline a draw no matter what the time control was because black is the only one with winning chances.
Yeah, it's true. Black. I mean, and I think psychologically, I mean, White can just be like so disappointed at how this game has gone.
Yeah.
Trying to grovel for a draw doesn't feel too good. I mean, maybe g4. I don't know. I mean, of course, not that White has any problems really, but g4 and then with the idea of rook c4 and trying to win that pawn.
Right. So he protects it, but the one thing that White cannot allow is the knight coming to f3. That would be very very.
The bishop on e3 is doing a very good job, though.
Yes, it is. Yeah, there are no infiltration squares.
That knight.
Yeah, this is just a draw at this point, but
he could have played rook b6 maybe. Oh, well, that didn't change anything. Okay. I still predict he's going to make a draw.
I don't know. I'm worried about him because
I'm worried about him, but I just feel like he can still hold on.
There's really no easy way to lose this. A rook b6 now. Oh, then rook a4. Okay, I'm trying to help.
Yeah, king d1. I mean, why isn't he going like knight d6 at some point?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
But the problem is the knight has nowhere to go from here.
Let's go. Let's trade. Come on.
There it is. Okay. This I think we can agree is now should be. I won't say it is, but it should be a draw.
Should be able to hold on. Bishop e3 or. Okay. King c4. No. Okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to. I guess. There's no point. The king's good on d3.
And the pawn f6 is actually very bad because now the bishop.
Exactly. He should keep his bishop on that diagonal. No. There's just like no way White should lose. His black's pawns are on dark squares.
Right. And the king can sit on e3.
G7.
Yeah, king sits on e3. There's no pawn to even attack. This is just an easy draw. Okay. So a Wonder Liang.
Edward Song, he did okay,
Yeah, no, he did okay. And Attilio Shetty drew. And I was going to say a Wonder Liang beat Grabinski, who we're not sure if is the son of the more famous Grabinski. But
yeah.
So that is a good showing for Pittsburgh. They're at least up 2-1 right now. If these results hold, I should say. And then Shabalov won. So they're up actually, right now they're currently up 2.5 with Edward Song likely holding a draw against Le Quang Liam. So where should we move on?
We also have Caruana playing Advait Patel.
Okay, I'm
so
there.
That's Montclair Sopranos versus the St. Louis Archbishops. The match has started.
Yep.
And I got to tell you about Advait Patel. Do you know this boy?
I played him in the North American Open a couple months ago.
Wow. Well, my experience with him is it's really funny because like years ago, he was just like a little kid and he would come to this tournament, the Scholastic tournament I've been I guess that for many years. I think you've been there, Robert, right? The Queen City Classic.
Yep.
In Cincinnati. And he would be one of the top players in like the open section and he'd come and play blitz with me. And, and at some point, the last time I played him, I was like, he was a master. And I was like, oh, this kid is getting really good. But it's like now a few more years pass by and he's like, a higher rated player than me. So it's funny how you see these kids grow up.
Yeah, he's very talented. I mean, he's now almost 2,500 FIDE, I think, and has a bunch of GM norms. So he's clearly a good force. But unfortunately for him, he's up against Fabiano Caruana, who's a little more established, let's say that. And, well, I mean, I think White is doing quite well here. I don't think there's really much to complain about. I think the clock situation is a problem for Mr. Patel, but his position seems very sturdy.
All right, so he's down on time by a lot.
Yeah, that's a big concern.
Yeah, White's position is definitely looking solid. Black's turn here. What's he gonna do?
Yeah, the thing is the e4 pawn is, okay, I was gonna say he should at least try to create something that White make a concession, right? So White goes d5 here. Now Black can expand more easily on the queen side with eventual b5 and things like that. But
does he have a choice? I mean, that pawn is attacked 4 times. Like, does he really have a choice about playing d5? It looks like he's gonna have to.
Yeah, knight d2 is not a move you want to play. So d5, and then where's this?
I don't see him going e5. So yeah, okay. So this is pretty clever by Fabiano.
So now a4.
Get him locked into the structure.
In the near future, a4 will be very tempting, just to try to open up the a file. However, a4 currently is met by b4, and that's.
Oh, maybe White should play a4 like now.
Ooh,
that's very soon, like a4 and knight d2 to c4.
Right, just trying to close the structure on the queen side, put your knight on c4.
I actually like White's position,
I think objectively White's position is good, but practically Fabiano being both the high-rated player, more experienced player, but also I think that White tends to struggle with the breaks in this position because the c4 square is under control for the time being. The only target in the position is the e4 pawn. Not that it's really weak or anything like that, but I just feel like sometimes just the players of the white pieces really struggle in trying to make this pawn to f4 and try to play for e5, and it just never is going to happen in this game. Maybe I'm a little harsh on the what I've seen from players facing the structure, but here he went knight h4, and king h7 is a good move. And I guess
he's gonna go for f4. I guess that was his point. I don't know about that plan. I guess it's okay.
Yeah, and f4 you can even consider going f5 after that and just put your knight on g6. So he's not afraid. He's really not afraid, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
But look at Fabi, calm, cool, collected, just queen f7, saying, okay, if you go f5, I'll just probably go g5.
g5 and then take the e5 square.
Exactly, that's a critical square indeed. Wait, Lequang Liam won?
Oh, no.
Yeah, he did. I don't know what Edward Song did.
Oh, this is terrible.
This is why you can't turn away for a second.
Pawn endgame? He lost. That's incredible. Wait, how is that even possible?
I'll pull it up really quickly.
Wait, he took the pawn. He took the knight on g3 on move 108.
Oh, so just moving his king around. He took. Oh, and this is of course.
This was just terrible.
Oh.
Letting the king to the third. Oh, no.
And this is, of course, winning because now the king comes to h2 and you promote to a queen next move. So unfortunate for Edward Song, but I guess in some sense he deserved to lose. If that's frustrating.
Well, that's crazy, but it's just funny how these stronger players they get everything they can out of these games. No matter how little their chances seem.
Yeah, and actually, I want to take us to John Bartholomew versus Julio Becerra because there's a bit of time trouble, interesting position, and of course John Bartholomew is one of the most renowned players online, on YouTube and things like that. And Julio Becerra, I talk about him week after week. He is a very strong player who doesn't play that much over the board anymore, but is definitely a U.S. Chess League force from years past. And I love his position in this game. Up a pawn, the white queenside pawns are disconnected. He already pushed his pawn to e4. Next pawn can go to f5. Not looking good for Finns. That's John Bartholomew.
Yeah, he's missing a lot of pawns on the king side. All right, so queen f4 he's trying to stop the move e5. What else does he want?
So rook d4 is an idea.
I mean, he's just attacking the e4 pawn. It's interesting how black wasn't even. Oh, you couldn't take on a2 because the rook was hanging. Okay.
Right.
I get it.
So,
All right.
so I guess f5 is
F5,
indeed something that white is inviting, but now the bishop at some point soon is coming to g7.
e6 now.
Yeah, just play
it covered.
Calm chess.
e6 is very simple.
And white's also down on the clock, so this should be.
Yeah. So, yeah, white's kind of opened up his own king and has not gotten much for that. I guess the move. I don't know, every single white pawn is sort of hanging here. a2, c3.
Yeah, this is not looking very pretty. And the black pawn chain now is perfect. After taking on f5, you just take with the e pawn, and you have these 4 connected passed pawns. A beautiful pawn chain that's kind of impossible to attack.
He's got to try to like sack a rook on g6, you know, to get some kind of perpetual.
Yeah, just very wishful thinking. Rook d8, great move. Just offering the exchange of rooks. Okay, rook d2 had to be played there. And how does black trade queens? That's what I'm looking for.
He might just go queen c3 here. Can he?
I think he can. And he does. So rook d7. I guess rook f7 is also possible here. Not to mention rook c8. Black might be checkmating white first. You know, after rook c8 threatens queen c1, exchanging queens. Also threatens queen e1 check.
Oh, yeah.
So that looks like a good move just to get a mating attack.
Rook c8 is very strong.
Okay, he's taking on a2 with
and then he wants to play rook f7 or something.
Yeah, you know, he can just check forever, put queen on e6 or something. He's got time to decide. Ooh, so queen b3, followed by queen b8. Unless the king's going to h4. There it goes.
I think that's where it was going.
Well, now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he just is playing rook f7, and there's not much this guy.
So rook f7
can do.
Yeah, because rook f7, the king is safe on g7. Queen f6 will come to block any check. So everything is turning out well for Julio.
Maybe f4. Okay, well, he could have pushed that.
Yeah, f4 is coming in the near future. Queen g5 check. So this one is pretty much going to be over. But it looks like Akshat Chandra also has a game that is in time trouble. And that's probably a more interesting position. So I'm going to head us over there for a second.
Okay.
He is playing John Ludwig.
Wow. Now can white squeeze out a draw here?
Ooh, well, black is worse. But how does white make?
I guess black is worse. I guess it's just a draw, though.
Yeah. Because the problem is for everyone watching this bishop on d3 it's impossible to move the bishop and get to the e4 square because black will cover via b7 or f5 depending on where the bishop goes. And
let's take a look at the game between Patel and Caruana.
Okay, let's jump right there.
That is going to be very exciting, and I mean Patel's been doing a good job, and I do like his position.
Wow, yeah, he has no fear whatsoever, and the e4 pawn is the one weakness that I discussed earlier, and it's something that black is going to have to go after. The problem for black is the knight on d7 is passive for the moment. The knight on h4 is very active, and b5 played. I guess aiming for counterplay on the queen side, which doesn't really exist, so taking on b5 made sense. And don't push too soon. That's my main piece of advice in a position like this. If you go f5 for white, you're going to regret it immensely once the knight eventually lands itself on e5. So just...
He should maybe just go... Do you think he should go knight c4 or not allow that trade?
That's a great question. Actually, I was thinking of a piece sack with knight to f5, knight e to f5, but it's, again, not my pieces, so I feel free to sack. So the point was after knight f5, g takes f5, take with the e pawn, throw your rook on e6, and just start dominating the space on the board. So you do sacrifice.
You've got to be a little bit careful with black being able to play this f5 move.
Right. With pressure down the e file, let's say knight c4. Well, knight c4 tags d6, so for the moment it's okay. But yeah, f5 at some point.
After like bishop takes.
Yeah, and if pawn takes, then f5
takes, f5 is coming. So I'm not sure about that move knight h4 to g2.
Oh, I guess e1's protected. That is the good news with the knight on g2.
It is protected, right? But still black wants to play f5. Like, I thought about this move knight d1. I have to say, like, I definitely noticed it with the idea of knight c3.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure f5 has got to be played.
Yeah, f5 kind of speaks for itself at this moment. Yeah. Now e1 is actually hanging because the rook is now cut off from the protection of that square. So f5 is looking good, and played knight
Okay.
b6. And okay, so he's covering the f5 square even more.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that maneuver by black. I don't know. To me, I thought maybe that, unless there was something wrong with f5, it looked like the move to play. Now, what can white do? I mean, the knight's far from e5, so you can look at f5, but I guess they still just go g5, and we didn't accomplish so much. You can't go e5, so white's a little bit, yeah, a little bit of a loss as to like how to continue.
And I'm really paying attention to the clock situation where white is about to be under a minute and Fabiano has 6 minutes. And that's really, I believe, going to tell the tale. Knight e3 is a good move. But the problem is, even if you go knight c4, black just captures. And then maybe you can play for the move e5 for white, but that 8 pawn will become passed and protected on a4. So in the near future. It's such
it's still such an interesting position, I have to say. Like, and Debate has done a great job at, like, keeping it interesting like that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's going to suffer because of the time. So I think Fabiano, he's going to like try to play a few moves like queen g7. I guess his idea is f5, by the way. Yeah, he was going to do a discovery on that knight, and Patel noticed that.
Yep. And just by the way, for everyone watching, that Hou Yifan and the Montreal Chessbrahs have started their second round of this match against Buenos Aires. Now, they are dominating. We'll check out Hou Yifan's games because she is a player to watch, but that match is already quickly becoming kind of out of hand for Buenos Aires. So we'll stick on the matches a little closer.
All right. So what to do for black here?
So rook to
I
e8.
thought he might sack that pawn on a5, but I wasn't sure. So he really wants to play f5 now. Rook a5, f5.
Right, and you can't take with the e pawn because the knight's hanging, and if you take with the g pawn, now everything's opening up for these rooks.
But this was very clever though, by Patel, f5.
Right, in between
because
moves.
Now he's either going to get his like knight to f5, or right. I mean, he's going to take and put a knight in f5. It's been the dream, I think. Although, I mean, okay, I understand bishop f5, gf is not that clear, but white gets a rook to g1 first. So he's going to go for it.
So do you have to...
I like white. I still like white.
I love white now. Because if you have to take on on f5, you're not going to be happy at all with the consequences of the g file. So, oof. Knight f5 perfectly timed. The d6 pawn is now under attack in addition to the rook on e7. So what can you do? Because again, if you take g takes f5, queen f7, rook g1, the problem is that black is not in time to really fully compete for the g file. Not to mention this knight on c3 can go to b5, attacking d6, or go through e2 to f4 and into the e6 square. And that would be not fun at all. So takes did happen. So I was going to say queen g5, but then I guess the queen was running out of squares.
All right, rook g1 now.
Right, so rook g1, and then maybe rook a7.
It's coming fast. This is definitely great for white. I mean, this is I mean, he's going to have problems defending. Oh, okay.
Ooh, that's a good move.
Yeah, queen f4 looks good.
So you need to go queen e5 check right now. If you can just jump over your rook, you'd be decently happy.
Okay, interesting. Well, no, Caruana found a very nice maneuver with the knight to e5, so I've upgraded, black's position. I think it's not so bad anymore.
Yeah, rook a7 to g7. Actually, the queen on e8 is very powerful because it stops the knight coming from to b5, which would have been annoying. And look at this. He ignores the king side in favor of pestering white on the queen side, saying that if you go rook g1, I'll just go rook takes b3. And knight e2 looks like a good move, protecting the pawn. Also, the queen can go to h4, followed by knight to f4 as a threat, or queen back to d2 even to attack the a5 pawn. So
unless there's something like knight f7 here, Robert.
Ooh, knight f7. Also, c4 is an option, just opening up that b file.
Yep.
c4, knight d4, then I take on b3, and it's getting really complex because your knight can enter the fray via e6 there. But if I'm kind of opening the position more on the queen side, I think black has to be happy about that. But I would be very hesitant to make a move like c4 given his d4. So he went a4.
Wow, that move is like supposed to confuse white, isn't it? I mean, he wants to go rook a4, rook takes b3, I guess.
Exactly, saying that you could take my rook, I'll take yours. So he took with the pawn. Now rook b2 comes with the tempo.
Now there's like knight d3, or there's queen d6 there.
But then
White want? What does black want? Why did he sack this pawn?
E4 is hanging in that line. So maybe knight F7, your idea from, but then knight F7, knight G3.
I think he kind of maybe overplayed his hand, black.
Yeah.
For some reason. I'm not sure that that was a correct pawn sack. Because now white wants to go, well, he might even want to go like rook to G1 and like knight F4 or something.
Yeah, and this, the problem with the G7, G8 squares means that the black queen is very much tied down. So queen F7, and also, the A pawn can just roll. It's a useful decoy, right?
Exactly.
Just go A5, A6, A7. Just, how does black even? What? Oh, that was me. I saw queen takes A4, and it was me accidentally clicking queen takes A4. Like that makes no sense.
Oh, okay, yeah, because there is that double rook mate on the G file. That
yeah. So, how do you? What can black even do here? Maybe rook back to B7 and go rook G7 and admit your mistake. But I think the concessions have been made, and after rook B to B7, then knight comes to F4.
Play rook G1, right, Robert?
That or knight F4 to D4. One of these squares is looking good. Okay, rook D2, causing confusion.
Okay.
So rook D3 was his idea and stopped immediately.
I don't know about that move, rook A3. I'm a little suspicious about that move. Okay. Wow, it's getting crazy. He's got no time. It's so sad for him because he's playing a great game, and I hope he can keep it together.
And queen F7 is probably met at some point by queen G6 check. So queen F7, just go A6, and then you always can trade queens if need be on the G6 square, which is useful in case your king.
It looks like it was a good move. I mean, black's not threatening anything now.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. And so
neither his rook or his queen from on the E file can move. Wow.
This is
all right. Okay.
Fascinating game here. And Fabiano Caruana, maybe I chose him for my fantasy team. I don't remember. I chose one of them, Laquang Liam or him. But knight C5. Okay, attacking E4
just
with
like A6 or something.
A6 is just winning on the spot.
Knight E4 and like queen G6, trade queens. And...
Exactly. So rook A7 is a good move because at the very least it causes confusion. Now, great move, queen E3. Knight takes E4 is not possible because A7 is hanging with check indeed. So
and rook, Ooh,
queen E5 check. Good move. Now rook D3. You can. Oh, you don't need to go rook D3, but you can.
Oh no! What's going on? Queen B2. Oh no.
Yeah, that queen is infiltrating.
That check. Oh, so sad.
So
wait, he's still in the game.
So maybe rook A8, a sneaky move, just keeping your rook safe, and then trying to move your knight into D3 or B3.
This is so dangerous for white.
And white has no time left. So rook A8, I would play that move, and then maybe knight H5 for white, just trying to get activity on the king side. Yeah. But then knight B3 because the F6 pawn is defended. So
I might go like knight E2 and try to like patch up things in the second rank.
Yeah, that's also after queen H2. Look at that. What?
Wow.
Okay, rook G7 check.
Rook G7, king H4.
Oh my God, king H4. That is a phenomenal idea because it's actually the king is very safe there.
Yeah, he is pretty safe there.
Whoa.
Maybe maybe Robert, if the queen moves away, one day he'll go like king H5 and take an H6.
I mean, yeah, but the king is safe. This is a phenomenal game here.
Yeah, like, okay, no, H4, maybe could have played. Okay, this is good.
So can white do anything is the question. So if the question is Fabiano should just sit tight.
Okay.
Huh. So like C3 is something that, I guess you can just capture on C3. But my idea behind C3, okay, queen B2.
Yeah, king H5, right,
wow.
right.
Oh, look at that move, king G8. That is if you take on H... Wait, queen takes H6 at some point might be possible because the A pawn can run.
Right.
Wow, that is... Wow. What a move. He played that with 1.6 seconds left.
He wants to finally go like knight H5, maybe.
Yeah. So maybe if I'm black...
Check. Okay, knight H5, come on. Oh, whoa, no. No. Oh, he's finally crumbled under the pressure.
Yeah, this is losing now.
Oh.
Wow, what a game.
A great game. It was really something.
Wait a second. Okay, so C2, he's getting a second queen first, so that's just game over. And queen G5 will be mate. So C1 queen back to G5. What? What was that? Okay, well, he's winning anyway.
Because the black is making a queen too.
Wait a second.
I don't know. I have to say that was quite a show, and both players, did a great job.
I mean, they kept us mesmerized there. That was I don't even want to look at any more chess. I'm done. That was that was all the calculation we needed, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I'd no, I'm just happy to see him doing well, and It's just so nice to see like someone who, was just like a little kid, and like trying to get better. And when I would played him the last time, I was like, wow, this kid's improved a lot because I played him over several years.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like, in the beginning it was easy, and then it suddenly was like, oh, this is challenging.
Yep. And by the
And I
way,
still had no inkling that he was like a kid from the Midwest, and it's like not exactly the center of chess. I mean, well, these days it's becoming like more of a center, but back then, like 10 years ago, not so much. And I had no idea that he was going to be a kid who was going to be like a IM and probably soon GM. So that's very cool.
yeah, and I was going to add, speaking of young talent who's on IM becoming GM, Nico Checa beat Varuja Nakobian in their matchup. So right now, Montclair, St. Louis, 2-2 in that one. Of course, Forrest Chen. Wait, did Forrest Chen not lose? Because it looks like Yaroslav Zherbuk drew, which might mean. Wait, did somehow Forrest Chen make a draw? Because I see the result is 2-2, and I don't know what's happening here. But okay, we have many more games underway. Hou Yifan.
So they drew their first match, or Webster drew the Pittsburgh. Did we see any games of a Wonder Liang?
No, he won his game in the first one against Grabinski, but we did not catch that game. But we should keep an eye on him.
Oh, okay. So it's actually very, very close. I mean, Montclair drew with Archbishops. Wow. So that means that win that Caruana got was like an absolute key for the Archbishops.
Yes. And I'm pulling up a Wonder Liang's game this round because it's actually quite an interesting position where he has the white piece against Joshua Colas. And Colas putting up a real fight.
Now, which one is that?
That is Red Nova 1729 and Joshua Kid. And I see people in the Twitch chat, I just want to answer, people saying, why did Advaita Patel resign instead of playing Rook C3? It's a great question. I don't think he should have resigned. However, the move Queen G8 could have come at some point, maybe even immediately, and there were checkmating threats. I wish I could pull that game back up. I don't have it. I already closed it. But also the move Knight B6 covering the A8 square was probably the best option. But yeah, I would not have resigned if I was Advaita Patel in that position. I would have kept playing. There was no harm in playing on. But moving on to a Wonder Liang with the white pieces against Joshua Colas. Wow.
Well, I was going to say, he didn't want to get a heart attack so young. He was like, that's tough.
Yeah, he's trying to keep his health together.
Like 2 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. But, speaking of players who like to have hectic battles, I mean, Wonder Liang does not shy away from a fight. And Joshua Colas is kind of keeping in there right now because white does look better, especially as bishop on b1 is sort of attacking the king side on h7, the knight on h5 in particular, hitting the fianchetto bishop on g7. But that bishop on a8, Irina, looks amazing. And after queen takes g7 here for black, to me, it looks like black is really just in for a good fight.
Yeah, because the knight's coming to g4.
And is the
and
idea...
the rook's on the open file. Actually, I totally agree, Robert. I think black is doing very well. His pieces are actually better than white's right now.
Yeah, and I wonder what he's thinking about. Is he thinking about playing knight g4 first? As if that would... Okay, he took on g7. I don't know what...
That's a nice move. We've seen a bishop on this diagonal before, haven't we? It was that move against Robert Van Kampen, that bishop b2 move.
But what about knight g4 here? Because now there are queen d4 check ideas as well, if you're not careful.
So knight g4, maybe there is like queen g3.
And then I was thinking, where can I move my rook to a useful square? But also, queen d4, my knight is pinned. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that was the idea.
So,
okay, so he went to f5 now. Okay.
All right.
I guess white can never take on e6 because of rook d1.
And the problem is the bishops are hanging down back here, but there is some rook e8 check stuff. Yeah, I would not go for that. I mean, your king is too weak from white's point of view. So rook e6 not possible. Bishop b2 will be met presumably by, maybe there's queen takes g2 check.
I mean, is it really refutable, Robert? Rook takes e6. Let's just try. I mean, I don't believe in this move, but let's just take a look because it is kind of a critical move, right?
Yeah, it definitely is a critical move. Sorry, I'm just...
Rook e6, rook d1, king h2.
Okay, king h2, yep. And then rook takes c1.
Yeah, rook e8.
Or bishop takes f5 first, maybe.
Or which one?
Bishop f5 first.
Oh, bishop f5 first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because you were trying to say that when I have rook a7 at the end, you got like knight e7 or something. You got...
I also I think the h6 square is a little. Oh, I mean, I guess rook e8 check also was working. I just was worried about queen h6 check ideas, right? Because if you aren't careful by going rook e8 check, king f7, rook takes bishop, queen h6 check comes, and that king is not escaping.
But isn't that decent though for white? I mean.
Oh yeah, it is. So maybe actually rook e6, knight d4 is the plan. And there's some knight f3 check things.
You know, Robert, there's also, well, bishop takes g2 doesn't make sense, right? I mean, I don't know, rook e6, bishop g2, queen g2, rook
d1 check.
1, king h2. I guess they didn't really make sense.
No, actually, you might be a genius because after take on g2, king g2, there might be knight g7, attacking the rook on e6 and attacking bishops on the back rank. So it probably doesn't work out very well because rook takes b6 is in the air. But still, it's something that maybe black can get away with. So bishop b2 was played, and now which of the many moves does black want to do? Queen g4 comes to mind, knight d4 comes to mind, and queen g4 is played. Yeah, white needs to be careful here.
Because the bishop in that diagonal, he's not really joined by anybody, and the king can, well, yeah. So these cards match up the queen with him. Okay.
So take on f5.
I guess he wants to. We're gonna take with the e pawn, of course.
Yep.
Because there's no rook e7 because of rook d1.
Exactly. That is a useful move to have. Is this rook d1 move, and so if in one move the bishop a1, queen b2 could be played, oh, then there's still even rook d4 there. So it's not even. Okay, rook e3 coming to g3. Great idea.
Yes, that was pretty nifty.
So does it work?
I think it works because he just totally covers.
Wait, Arena. Rook d1 check, king h2, queen h5 check, rook h3, rook h1 check.
Oh. Okay, and that's good. So that, I mean, black can equalize like that.
Yeah, but that is a nice saving tactic there. And
yeah, I think he's gonna have to go for it because actually I'm seeing. Okay, he didn't find that.
So he played king f7.
Okay, this looks a little scary for sure.
Well, rook h3 is met by the same tactic, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
And rook g3 loses because rook d1 check, king h2, queen h4 check now picks up the queen on it. So actually, maybe king f7's a really
good move. Yeah.
What a concept.
So rook h3, there's just rook d1, king h2, and rook h1.
And there's also h5, I guess, right? Rook h3, I can just go h5 and say.
H5. Okay.
Well, no, then rook h4 is
a very strong move.
Yeah. Wow. Seriously, what a concept. I mean, now white also has to be careful for queen d1 check followed by rook d2.
I have to say, Robert, it's not that many games where I've seen this like rook h1, queen h3 tactic. It's like mostly in tactics books, but like I've never had a chance to play it.
Yeah. And I actually have a question. Is this a draw if I go queen d1 check, king h2, rook d2, and after rook takes h7 check, just king f8 or something like that, and just move my, you can give me checks and my king will just kind of stay away from the g file? I don't know if it pans out, but the idea, of course, is that the g2 pawn is always hanging, so maybe that's a way to save the day.
Rook d2, rook h7, and you have to stay on f8, right?
Yeah. And I think that should be enough to just rook h8 check, rook h7, so there's a little repetition here, because it's important.
You can't go anywhere. You can't go to the g file. You can't go to the e file.
Right, because queen g3
E1
check.
is interesting for black.
Yeah, and rook d1 to h1 should be enough as well, but I think queen d1, rook d2 might just say, I don't even have to worry about any future opposite colored bishop positions that just end the game on the spot with a draw there. So looks like crazy tactics are in the air. Oh, wait a second. Hou Yifan lost a game. Who did she lose to? She lost to Mario Villanueva. I just pulled it up very quickly.
Wow.
Wow, that is a big upset. She had the white pieces against a 24-45 rated international master from Buenos Aires.
Is that a game that we didn't get a chance to see that game, did we?
No, we were just so focused on the Caruana game that we...
Right.
But, I'm just trying to keep everyone, updated with all the results.
On the big results, yeah.
Yeah, because so many games are in action. Actually,
Van Kampen lost a game, too.
Van Kampen lost? Wow.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign for the Chessbrahs, especially if they're dominating first rounds, letting their opponents back in the game. I'm picking up Michael Kleinman's game, just opening
look at this. Edward Song is doing well again.
I think Edward Song's your new favorite player.
He's beating a 2600 GM.
All right, I'm gonna pull up Edward Song's game just because he's your favorite. Though I have this Kleinman game open for everyone.
Yeah.
It should be a draw. Rook and 2 pawns against rook and 2 pawns. 7 seconds left with a 2-second increment. That should be good enough for a draw. So Edward Song, I gotta make Arena happy here. Let's get whoa. Yeah, Edward Song is up a pawn, isn't he?
He's up a pawn with like the better rook and very nice structure, and certainly every reason to think that he should win this endgame eventually.
Yeah, you can even consider king e7, king d6, play d4, temporarily sacrificing the d pawn to just to win it back.
Yeah.
In fact, king f6,
Nice
king f5.
idea.
Yeah, this is terrible for white. Wow, Edward Song is the hero of the day. Well, actually, we shouldn't speak too soon because last time we said he had everything under control. He didn't exactly keep it together.
Someone is saying that Colas is winning.
Colas is winning?
Well, let's take a look. Let's go back to that game. We're just.
Oh my gosh, he blundered. Now rook d1 check, rook h1 wins a piece. He put his bishop on c3. So rook d1 check, king h2.
Oh,
rook h1.
That's terrible.
And now that picks up that piece. Remember, the pawn on g2 is pinned to the king. That is phenomenal. I hope that Joshua Colas. Oh, he missed it.
Oh no. Oh no. And I'm surprised that a wonder blundered it because this idea has been on the board for so many moves, but okay, it happens.
They both have been missing it move after move. And to be fair, I guess it's not the most obvious thing that comes to mind, but
sure. I mean, it's like it is rare to actually get a chance to play it over the board.
Right. And I mean, that was just the perfect opportunity. Oh.
Well, now what's he gonna do? Like rook h2 or?
And that's a sad move to play, but rook h2 seems to at least keep white in the game for now. But then h4, h3 from black. Black's attack is coming first.
Yes. Black is a lot better.
Not to mention black can go rook back to e8 or d8 or something like that. What is that?
Oh, well, he wants to, he somehow wants to make a draw. So, I mean, I guess that shows that he thinks his position is desperate.
Well, queen takes g2.
Followed by bishop takes.
That looks great.
When bishop takes, they have rook h5.
Oh, that's sneaky. So if bishop takes rook h5, that is, I don't win your rook with a discover check because rook g5 comes in and blocks my check on the g file and saves your rook, and that should be enough to hold. So
yeah, he'll take with the rook on g2, king f1, and so he's okay. Well, yeah. But no, this was, a clever decision by a wonder. I mean, it means he understands, like, he's not doing well and he's trying to make a draw. I actually think he will make a draw.
He should. Yeah, with proper play, he should here. Maybe rook c2 just to keep the rook on h3, but rook c2 is actually maybe a decent looking move.
Oh, that's funny because there's no bishop e5, yeah.
So at least you just hold the rook down to h3 for the moment and sort of question what white's plan is. So rook, okay, took on a2. How are you going to not take that pawn? Now rook takes h5. The bishop will come to e4. I mean, black still has very good chances to win this, I'd say, only because the queenside pawns and the fact that the white king is cut off. That said,
yeah.
Rook h6 coming soon should be enough to sort of hold the balance.
Right, rook h6 now. Now you got to go b5. Oh, okay, that's nice. Wait, unless there's king g6. Oh.
Yeah, wait, king g6 looks like a freebie.
Yeah, why did he do that?
No, what is king e6? How could you make that move?
I don't know. That was weird.
That was just a bad move.
That was just weird.
And now, if anything, white's better because black has disconnected pawns on the queen side. Okay, bishop c2, there's no way to lose that game, but...
Yeah, yeah, it's weird. Okay.
All right.
Well, again, black had plenty of time to think about, what to do there other than just giving away this pawn.
Edward Song, he won his game. He making Irina very proud.
Yeah, go Edward.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this guy, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he did the d4 move and then forced resignation just after that because...
It's a king and pawn endgame.
Exactly, and king d2, beautiful. The king comes to e4, and this is a Zugzwang winning this pawn. So Edward Song is the hero that the pawn grabbers needed. He grabbed a pawn and kept it and then gave it back and won the game from there. So who else? I'll pull up Fabiano Caruana's game. I guess I'll keep an eye out on a wonder game, but I'm not that interested in it at the moment because of what's going on in the position. And there are many more games going on that we should keep an eye on. So Iturizaga, Eduardo.
Oh, this one is interesting. Akshat Chandra versus Nicholas Rosenthal.
Okay, let me pull up that game. There it is. Akshat Chandra.
Akshat Chandra is playing, I can tell you.
Whoa, G6. What is that? So black's not even up a pawn for this trouble. So what happens if just pawn takes G6?
Round 2. Chandra is playing for the Minnesota Blizzard.
Yep, and he's playing
playing Miami champions. Okay.
And Nicholas Rosenthal, Irina, was a hero last season where he beat Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So he is can hold his own there on board 4. But right now, I don't understand what's wrong with pawn takes g6. Oh, wait a second. Am I just being silly? Pawn takes bishop f5.
Bishop f5, right? Well, bishop f5, there's g7, there's king h7.
Yeah, exactly the thing I was overlooking as well. So the black ends up a piece with this bishop protected on f5. So g6 might be, wow, what a concept. Really, I mean, that is, you think that you're doing all right. I mean, I guess he goaded his opponent into this and now plays g6 and just says, I have everything covered. Though my first instinct now is f takes e6.
Yeah.
Do you take with a rook on e6, I guess?
Queen.
Well, queen e6, I was wondering if I could go rook f1 and then put my rook on f6 with tempo and then bring my other rook to f1.
That's interesting, but you're still down a pawn, but I guess you want to do a pawn sack and just, play for e6 there or something?
Exactly. Next move e6 is coming, and that looks kind of tragic. So I think if...
Whoa. Well...
Wait, what?
This wasn't supposed to happen, Nicholas. No.
Wait, what just... Wait, why did he... What? Wait, what was wrong with bishop f5?
Bishop f5, right?
Was there some e6 ideas? No. Rook takes e6.
Huh.
Oh, wait, actually...
E6?
Yeah, e6 maybe kind of discombobulated black's forces.
But after rook takes e6, like g7?
But then king takes h7, queen f5 check, king takes g7. Black seems to at least be temporarily up a pawn.
Yeah. Well, here he decided to sack a pawn, and I don't really think he's got anything for it. It just seems totally losing for black. Because
can't white just go bishop h5 to f3 and say, you know what, you can use the g file all you want?
I think he's just going to go like rook f6 here.
Yeah, it's even stronger. Now, some move, maybe king h1, profit, just kind of get the king out of the way. And h4 is another idea. Just going to try to go
g3,
h5.
What about just g3? I mean...
g3 is the best. Yeah, g3 is just the simplest. I'm getting fancy.
And then you can move your bishop and like threaten rook h6 or something, mate.
Yeah. No, this is not looking pleasant for black.
Okay, so this game we can definitely switch to something else. Andrew Tang is got an interesting position versus John Ludwig. That's another game from the same match, the Blizzard versus Miami champions.
Yep, and here we see.
Let's see.
Whoa, lots of pieces kind of under attack. Because knight c3 is under attack. You can sack the piece by taking on f5. That has to be tempting, if not just outright good, right? If I go e takes f5 here.
Pawn c3.
Pawn c3, then queen c3 with check. And you can't block the check annoyingly for black. And then I take on g6, and that cannot be fun.
Okay. He went for something more solid. The thing is, the knight on h7 is so bad, and it's hard to really see him getting better.
Right. Now, you always have queen b2 check, in the near future, because you can't block on the diagonal. The pawns on g5 and f4 do a great job of keeping that diagonal closed because they cover the blockading squares. So, actually, queen... you can't get knight g4 in. I was going to say queen b2 check followed by knight g4 would have been nice. But
I like the move he just found.
He's playing a very kind of solid style in what is a sort of open position, which is, all right, I mean, he's...
Yeah, you know what? I think Black's going to play like rook b7 to e7. Maybe like Caruana style, on the 7th rank.
Yeah. And...
seems reasonable, rook b7.
For those of you just tuning in, I just want to let everyone know that this is the Pro Chess League. Teams of 4, maximum rating 2,500. It seems like we have many new viewers, Irina, so I just want to give everyone who's watching a shout out. I will be watching in the chat, but this is the Pro Chess League here, sponsored by Chess.com. And just so everyone knows, the finals of the Pro Chess League will be live in San Francisco as an esport, and that will be the weekend of April 7th and 8th. So we'll keep everyone in mind as we continue our analysis. Just how to give everyone that information. So this game here...
Are you going to be there in San Francisco, Robert?
I will be. I'll be having the call with International Master Danny Wrench, everyone's favorite and simultaneously least favorite international master on Chess.com.
I think mostly favorite.
Yeah.
the least favorite of anybody.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make fun of Danny. He's a very close friend of mine, but I have to, give him a nice little shout out every now and then. By the way,
oh yeah, Robert. By the way, are you interested in the coaching thing again for the Olympiad?
Oh, you're asking me on air now. I mean, you put me on the spot. I would be interested, sure. Irina's asking me if I'd be interested in coaching the U.S. women's chess team as I did at the 2016 Olympiad. So Irina and I have had we've gone back way farther than that, played many times as well. But yes, Irina, you caught me on air, so you have to hold me to my word.
So you're saying you would be interested?
I would be interested, of course. Okay, it's an honor.
Good.
Okay, so which chess game are we looking at? We have so many good options here, and I don't know where to go. Fabiano Caruana just came up with. Oh no, he didn't. Nicolas Cheka came up with a nice temporary piece sacrifice with this move knight to d4.
Which game is that?
That is Fabiano Caruana's white against Nicolas Cheka. Cheka.
Hold on, let me refresh.
And there probably are games that, by the way, Akshat Chandra won that game in short order. So there's so many different games going on. We'll try to do our best to cover your favorite teams, but we do have to sometimes keep an eye on one of the best players in the world in Fabiano Caruana, especially as this match is very close. We should give Pittsburgh match some more airtime. They're playing Webster, and that's a battle for first place in the division. So we'll do a better job keeping up on them as well. But in the meantime, we have Mr. Caruana now sitting and thinking and trying to figure it out, because this knight on d4 is threatening this bishop on e2, but the d file is hard to completely infiltrate from black's perspective, and he took on d4. Don't know if I like that decision. What was the... Irina, do you think he's going to go bishop c4 here and play bishop d5 and sacrifice a pawn? I can't tell if that's what he's aiming for.
Yeah, I'm trying to I wasn't able to find this game. This was I'm following you on the chess TV.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the bishop is attacked now. You're saying should he go bishop c4? And
he chooses not to. He just plays bishop d2. My idea was that bishop c4, pawn takes e3, bishop d5, saying please take me on f2 because that opens the f file and actually causes you some problems in the f7 square. That said, at some point, and maybe immediately, black could have considered sacrificing on d5, which probably does not play out in white's favor, this exchange sacrifice here, with pawns hanging, the white king being a bit exposed as well. But, okay, instead we see this queen a2. Whoa! Now bishop b4 comes.
Oh.
That's a tactic. And is there any way for black to make use of the fact that you're up a very, very passed pawn on e2? I don't see it. The pin is strong. Queen can come capture on e2 after black loses the rook on d6. So that might have been just a kind of a cheeky little tactic, as Lawrence Trent and his fellow Englishman would say. Yeah, now bishop takes d6, queen takes e2, and all of a sudden white's just up in exchange. So it looks like Nico Cheka's tactic backfired when he played for this temporary piece sacrifice of knight d4, aiming to win the bishop back. Unfortunately for him, he did win the bishop back, but lost an exchange in the process.
Yeah, now it's just completely losing for Nicholas.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty straightforward path to victory. So I'm going to pull up Sergei Ehrenberg's game against Yaroslav Zherebuk. So two grandmasters playing within the same match. Ehrenberg.
This game I can see, Robert. So I might be able to say something about it.
Oh, I'm sure you can, because this position clearly, well, it looks like kind of almost like a Spanish structure, but it actually came from a Sicilian, a canal attack. And that means bishop b5 check was met with an early knight d7. And the point of that opening from black's point of view is to kind of steer clear of a lot of the main lines and just sort of get a neutral looking position and try to outplay your opponent. But in the current setup, this pawn on b5 is the target. The knight on f4 is nice, but it's not really creating an attack.
I have to say, white must be better, right?
Yeah.
Because there's just no obvious way to improve that bishop on a8.
Is bishop a4 a possibility here? And there it's played. Nice move, right? Just pinning. There are lots of pins going on here with the rook hanging on b8 and the queen on d7. So that just might net a pawn.
Yeah, that's going to also help the knight on d2, maybe come to c4.
Yeah, and
This
you
is
could
really good for white.
absolutely. And once you capture this pawn on b5, you can go pawn to c4 as well, knight to b3, and that bishop on a8 is a very, very playing the world's tiniest violin for that bishop because it's crying over there and staring into a very thick pawn chain.
It looks like Andrew Tang is winning against John Ludwig.
Okay, I pulled that game back up.
An exchange, and he's got the attack.
So the only thing he has to be careful about is this long diagonal, because if that pawn on d5 is removed, there's going to be a bit of trouble. That said, it looks like he can get away with just taking on g5 now, because after rook g5, knight g5, queen e4 is just one check, and king g1 is game over, especially with all these pawns.
That looks like the simplest thing to do.
Yeah, and I don't think a player of Andrew Tang's caliber is missing this kind of tactic.
How about Julio Becerra? He's in some endgame against Sean Nagel.
Sean Nagel is one of my favorite players, if you didn't know that. Love watching Sean Nagel play. So I'm pulling up Becerra Nagel. This is actually a matchup of two players I am a big fan of. Whoa. And Becerra's, I couldn't decide if he was up a pawn, down a pawn, and now it's going to be even.
So he's going to be even on pawn now. But he's worse, right? Yeah, he's definitely... I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, Becerra's worse.
Yes.
I think.
So, okay, knight d5 is a good-looking move because the idea is if you take on b4 with the knight, then white is never losing that game. So actually, this should just
be the opposite color.
This should just fizzle out. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Bishop d5.
Pawn takes.
Bishop c3, king e5, king c4, and then
a4, h4, and it's okay for white.
Yeah, just a draw, right? We just take, and the king will run back to the h-pawn, but white will scoop up both remaining black pawns as well.
Yeah, this was a safe move, so now it's going to fizzle out.
So king g4, and now you can just take on b4, as was said, because the problem is the bishop on e4 does not match the queening square on a1, which means that all white really has to do is, yes, white just has to capture the b-pawn and make sure that the a-pawn is remaining. So yeah, knight takes b4 should just be an easy draw. Okay, so
I like this comment. Robert, I gotta give you a compliment. Read you a compliment that someone said.
Okay.
Someone said Robert is a pro. He'd be comfortable with Lucifer commentating. That's quite a compliment.
You know, I'll take it. Any compliment I get, I will absolutely take, because I know that I've been in the receiving end of people's animosity, especially when I talk about negatively about the Chessbrahs. So thank you to whomever made that comment. I appreciate it. But
yeah,
you are definitely not Lucifer, so let's not act like that.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was trying to compare.
My life is made much easier when I have such stellar co-commentator as you. So it's
yeah. The Chess League has great commentators. I always enjoy watching.
Oh, I have it hooked up to my TV usually, so I definitely enjoy it as well. But speaking of commentating, let's head over to, I don't know whose game. Too many good-looking games.
Okay, Akobian. Akobian and Patel. Let's go to Patel.
Okay, we pulled it up. Whoa.
See how he's doing now. Not so well, but kind of complicated. He's down a pawn. He's threatening to take the knight on d6. Now, where's? Oh, they have to go like rook d1 or something. Or wait. Exactly. There's little tactics in this position. How exactly is white getting this knight out?
So rook d1, rook f to d1.
Yeah, then there's bishop d6.
And then I'll take on d5.
Ah, bishop takes h2.
Oh, you're taking on b5? That's sneaky. King h2, rook d5. I was thinking knight b6, right? Four king, both
so
rooks.
You found something here with knight b6.
But rook takes b5. Knight takes a8. And can rook b7 be played, trying to trap this knight? No, I don't think... I think the knight gets out. So if the knight does indeed get out, black's not very happy, allowing an outside pass.
Yeah, black has a big problem here because unfortunately that a pawn is very strong, and now he's going to trade the rooks, and you know, like the minor pieces are better when they've got a rook to attack with.
Right.
So I guess black is certainly worse here.
Yeah, and that was an interesting decision by VAR. So he wanted to get an imbalance in material with the two minors and first rook and pawn, but the a pawn is a monster of a pawn. The knight on b8 is actually terrible. So unless that knight can do something useful, which I don't see any future for it, white is certainly better, especially because the bishop on b5 just dominates the knight and protects the pawn.
Yeah. Oh, this is sad for black. Unpleasant position.
And poor Patel, because he had a great game against Fabiano and
Yeah.
unfortunately lost that one.
Yeah, I mean, okay, now he's trying to get out. What's going to happen on this? I mean, rook AC1, there could be... Yeah, that's probably... rook AC1 is reasonable. He could try to trade. He could trade on D6. Maybe he should just trade first, because, like, he really does want to trade the rooks.
So was captured, and I guess...
And rook C1, and is he just going to C8 or something? Isn't it just... Oh, okay. Well, the knight's going to have to go to A7 or E7, but...
Right, so rook c1 or rook d1, one of these moves have to be good. Rook d1, I mean, rook d1 just takes an open file, so I can't complain too much about that.
Rook d1 looks very good.
And then rook d7 comes almost no matter what the move is. Yeah, this is not looking very fun for black. So I think that VAR with precise play should gain the full point in this one. Are there... I'm just pulling up all these random games now to see how the progress is being made, but I think we should stay within this match. I'm going to go back to the Ehrenberg game versus Zherbuk because...
All right, let's take a look. Well, he is doing well. What would no, not as well as you could expect.
Right. I
mean, black actually managed to get his bishop out to C8. You know, white's still not quite making anything of his extra pawn. And I could see this kind of, you know, getting away from white, especially with this time situation.
And this bishop on a7 is a total monster. It's just
amazing.
It controls
bishop.
the entire... So knight f4 is very tempting for black in the near future, saying, well, I'll just trade the knights, take control over this dark diagonal, and you can't really counter me because I have the c5 square, the e3 square, and you can't control both of them. So now
h4 is coming. And it's kind of amazing, Robert, that bishop on a8 was horrible, and now he's on c8, and he's going to be attacking the g4 pawn. I'm not even sure about the move g4. That might have been terrible.
Yeah, it's only good if this knight somehow finds its way over to f5, but after you go knight f1, I might just go knight f4 right away, saying if you trade me,
right.
your knight's
because
definitely...
it weakened the dark squares, and it unrestricted the knight on g6.
Yep, exactly.
Maybe he was trying to stop the move f5. I get it. He was also worried about black, like somehow maybe playing f5. I mean, that must have been it because it's hard to understand this move otherwise.
And I don't think f5 was scary, so knight b4 to c6 could have been played, just gaining more space on the queen side. So instead, now white would love to have this other pawn on g3, I feel like, just to limit the knight on g6. But now if you're black, you can go queen h4 if you want. You can play knight f4. Knight f4 is always tempting me. You can put your bishop on d4 if need be, but knight f4...
Still, you know, it's funny because white is still doing like well, I guess, because the rook on f8 cannot come into the game.
Right.
You know, so white still, I think, objectively has got everything under control. It's not kind of as bad as I thought in the beginning. So what is black gonna do here?
And white is up a pawn, and the white rook can go to a1 into a8 if need be to sort of keep black tied down. So yeah, I agree with you. White is better objectively. I just see that I can see things going wrong. But look at the clock for black now too. Yarrow has been spending minute after minute on this move here, which is not a good sign.
Yeah, he's trying to. Okay, so he went for this transformation, and white's going to take. And I was even thinking, I don't know, there was some funny move e5, but maybe it doesn't work right away. Yeah.
I definitely see your idea to create a passed d pawn, which is quite a nuisance. Maybe it's possible.
It's probably possible, like pawn takes and like knight e4 or something.
Yeah, that scares me.
Well, or I mean, obviously, it's funny that white's thinking here. Is he actually thinking about not taking that knight? That would be surprising.
I guess if you go queen f3 and then the trade on d3 happens, you don't have to worry about your e4 pawn, which is nice. But at the same time, if you take on f4, you know, pawn takes f4, then bishop e3, maybe your e4 pawn becomes a little bit vulnerable. So perhaps he doesn't want to capture after all. Though, you know, then black can certainly capture and play put a bishop on either c5.
Maybe, you know, like on queen f3, black could play like g5. Is that crazy?
Well, then the knight's definitely coming to f1 and g3, I feel like.
Yeah, then the knight's gonna come in. Okay.
Actually, the more I look at this position, the more I like white. It's just a big problem for black is if queen f3, knight takes d3, queen takes d3, your bishop still has nowhere to go because my knight will come to b3 at the right moment and hit you, and then I'll go c5 myself to create that passed d pawn. So okay, he'd spend all the time and took on f4, which unless he's going e5, I don't love his decision. But after e5,
yeah, I think e5, the d pawn is gonna take, right? So he went for this, and black will play like bishop e3. I'm assuming here.
Right.
Bishop e3 looks very reasonable.
But now e5 is worse from white's point of view after bishop e3, because you go e5, then...
Ooh, bishop g4 somewhere very soon.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Actually on the horizon. Okay, no, I'm getting happier as black because this bishop g4 idea, like it stops the knight from ever moving.
And actually, from black's perspective, in some ways, oh, no, never mind. I would say g5.
Oh, bishop g4 here.
Absolutely. Then
I've been waiting for this move. Please move your knight.
Because you're offering checkmates.
That's it. It's good for black. Now that the bishop's come into the game, the bishop on b5 is not doing anything. That must be it. What a blunder, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just moving the knight away, the only piece protecting your king side, and now you move it away. So bishop g4, knight c6, and then queen h4. I mean, there's no even you're not in time to go e5.
He's gonna get mated real fast because now he's playing without the bishop on b5, and even rook a8 is like a possibility now.
Yeah, that rook has plenty of open space to kind of start roaming free.
That was sad. I was like starting to feel, that it's gonna go wrong for white.
Yeah, now just even bishop c5 is possible. Actually, bishop c5 is not possible.
Oh, it's not because there's pawn g4. Okay.
So this is a sneaky looking move, knight c2. So maybe, okay, black is low on time as well, so you got to be careful here. But bishop takes h3 with queen h4, that kind of combination. Queen h4 first.
Yeah, he was probably thinking about queen h4, knight e3, bishop h3, right?
Right.
There was something like that.
So what's going on here? If knight takes e3,
pawn takes e4.
Queen moves to somewhere. Ooh, if queen d4, pawn e3, then e2, that's disastrous. So take on e3 now. Then queen takes e3. So if you take on e3, white just take back with the queen.
He's got everything under control. Okay.
Oh, more tactics.
Wow, he really wants to like mess it up while there's like no time left.
Yeah, because right now they're both down under 10 seconds left. So he
wants pawn h3, pawn e3, rook f3 coming in.
Yeah, that would be tough. Wait, but now just take on e3, right? Because if you take on e3, you're getting a queen. Black's getting a queen. This is over. Take with the queen on f8 and queen f1 check followed by e2.
There's no queen e3 here. Okay. Queen e4. Okay.
So
interesting.
Wait, you guys see perpetual check because this queen is coming to e8 with check.
Wow.
And taking on g6.
So it's going to be a draw.
It looks like it.
Wow, that was really exciting too.
Yeah, somehow.
I got to say, Ehrenberg, he found a nice move there, right? Not to lose somehow right after bishop g4. He found this move knight c2.
Yes, and that
was pretty good.
I don't think that's what he was aiming for, but he did find it and save the day.
Find it, yeah, very nice. Okay.
Wow. Okay, and Akobian game is down to the wire versus Patel. Akobian is up in exchange, and Patel only has 7 seconds left, so this should be winning. It should be winning no matter how much time is left, but especially considering the time situation.
Yep.
Who else is left?
We have Hou Yifan. Oh, that looks really exciting. Is there like a checkmate coming?
Okay, I'm trying to...
Wait, that's unfortunate because she's on the receiving end of that.
Whoa. Yeah, it looks like she's
there's a checkmate coming with knight f3 in just a couple of moves. Oops.
Yeah, so if I make a useless move like c4, knight f3 check, king f1, knight h2 double check, king g1, and rook f1 would be a nice looking checkmate down on the back rank. So, wow, Hou Yifan not having a very good debut in the Pro Chess League, and that is the Montreal Chessbrahs. And the Montreal at this point in time is up 4.5, 3.5. So they could use her not losing, that's for sure. And
and I mean, I guess this is her third game, isn't it? She
Yes.
won the first one, and then she's losing the next two. Yeah, that's not too good. I wonder what time zone she's playing in,
Yeah, I mean, she just won a scholarship to Oxford, so maybe she's. I don't think she's in England yet, but I really don't know. And rook h5 is sort of a desperation move, hoping to take this knight on g5, but something tells me that between ideas like knight f3 check, and there's knight f3.
How about the funny move knight h2 here?
I was saying knight d4, yeah, but I mean knight h2 is also in the air, but knight d4.
There was right knight h2 was actually pretty funny. Yeah.
Absolutely. Maybe rook e3 here is the only way to keep the game alive, at least for a couple more
Right.
moves. But it's not real. Queen takes e3, and yeah, this is terrible. So a really rough debut for Hou Yifan. She's totally lost
Yeah.
in this game right now. Just take on e3. If you take on d4, you
Yeah,
can
the
even
problem that I'm seeing is that she gets very low on time in these last 2 games. She's actually been a lot lower than her opponents, and kind of maybe they've just got more experience with this.
right. Very bad theme. Very trend, I should say, to have is this
Yeah.
low time. So okay,
So he's
she's
probably just gonna take on e3 and take on d4 and like win with those pawns, I think.
yeah, that's simple enough. But you know, there's probably perhaps something even better, but just taking on d4 and just promoting your pawns is good enough. So what other games are nearing kind of time pressure interesting?
Okay, we got Villanueva. He's got a very interesting position against Michael Kleinman.
Okay.
Kleinman is down a queen, and he's got a rook and a 1 piece.
Whoa.
Rook bishop.
This is a fascinating position indeed. I mean, I think I like the side down the queen because I love having a nice bishop on f3, an open king, and I would think about eventually playing h5, h4 from black. That said, white is only a couple moves away from making a move like knight to d2 and kicking the bishop. But I guess the bishop couldn't go to a4 because of b5. And now...
Okay, so this is going to be definitely a close game. White's trying to open up the lines.
So the idea is if take on b4 twice, this bishop ends up on b4, but then white will go rook c1, I guess, trying to take... And what white really needs to do is just take this bishop on c6. Even if it costs the rook, just sacrifice it for that bishop and hope that you have enough to escape.
Yeah, so it looks like white is probably doing well.
You think white is doing well?
I think so. Unless, something very bad happens to white's king fast.
Right. Yeah, that's true. b5.
Ooh, now, I don't know about b5. Really.
Oh, I kind of like that because if knight a5, the knight gets stuck offside, and then bishop f3, followed by doubling the rooks in the d file will be powerful. So
yeah, it's interesting, definitely. I mean, right, because you're saying like let's say if knight d6, you take it, pawn takes, rook takes, and then you sort of double up rooks, right?
Right. Just trying to give you a checkmate down on the d.
And if I go knight a5, what were you doing there? Bishop f3?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep everything under control for the time being. But actually, by playing knight a5, bishop f3, pawn takes c5, you're threatening this annoying move c6 if I'm not careful, which is frustrating because the rook doesn't have a good move.
Yeah, because the queen. Well, yeah, okay. So he went for this, and now black is going to threaten mate, and white's going to play the move h3.
Yep. And then I guess black should meet it with.
You might as well go h4. I don't know. Is there any difference?
I think h4 is better because that way your king. Well, no, I'm not sure. I said it's better, and then I want to take it back because the rook is going to come to d3 and threaten like swinging over to h3 with mate. So like h4, king to b7, protecting this bishop, threatening sort of rook d3 stuff.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Robert, is that after h4, it's just like an immediate draw if black wants, right?
Right, with rook d. So what you're saying is rook d1 check. Maybe you can go king h2 first. But okay, just to show the draw, because that's easier to digest, is now there's this endless checks down here. Just on the king has to go to h2 and g3. Wow, this is a fascinating position.
Yeah, I don't think black can really play for the win. Yeah.
Well, king b7 here is a little bit tempting, I feel like. Okay, when rook d1. Now, if you're white, do you go king h2? Yep, king h2 played. White is playing for a win.
Oh, white's playing for a win. Huh.
I love it when players have no fear.
Yeah, I didn't see that move, actually.
So if you take the rook, you take the bishop with check, throw on queen b6 with check, take on a6 with check, and you could sense a theme here.
How about king b7 here, Robert?
King b7 is definitely a good-looking move. And then if I take on d1, you take back on d1, queen e7 check.
b6.
And then queen c5. Yeah, maybe there's just a...
That one black is going to be okay. Can white actually escape this perpetual? Oh, there we go.
Yep,
That's a nice way out.
And this king is coming through.
Ooh.
That's not a good sign if you are white. Oh, sorry, if you're black, excuse me.
If you're black, yeah.
In fact, I think black's position is already now in big trouble.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a victory for white. That move f5 is beautiful.
Yep, it's just freeing the space for the king. The king will run, and now the queen will start mopping up the pawns. In particular, the h6 pawn is very weak, and white has this pawn to sort of aim towards promotion. So I think that black blundered by going rook d1 immediately. It sounds weird to say, but I think king to b7 to start with was a better try. Ooh, rook d3. Now rook h3 to h1 is mate. So maybe you didn't get out after all. Though f3 has to be considered. But now black will have a passed pawn on f3. Okay, I overlooked that.
Oh, yeah, rook d3 was a tricky move.
So
more pawn moves that he can make to avoid that. To avoid that perpetual. Or I guess, well, wait, how? Okay, yeah, he's just got to do the perpetual now, I guess.
Yeah, f3 is sort of a losing attempt more than is a winning attempt, I feel like. So, and Hou Yifan officially lost her game. Raja Panjwani lost to Maxi Perez. So all of a sudden, you know, the Chessbrahs went 3.5 out of 4 in the first round. They're now down 5.5 to 4.5. So not looking good.
Wow, so it was a really horrible match for the Chessbrahs.
Yeah, they continue to struggle. Actually, Lequang Liem and Wonder Liang are playing, so I think we should go over there just because.
Yeah, we're now on round 3, right? Or are we already now we're now in round 4?
No, this is round 3. Round 3.
But some of the games already started round 4.
Because
Hou Yifan has already played 3 games.
Right, so her team is in the finishing up the 3rd round. So she will be in round 4 next time she plays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right, because the Chessbrahs, they started a little bit later, I guess.
So
the Chessbrahs kind of started at the beginning.
Yes, they started at the beginning, so they're a little bit ahead of the curve. Yeah. And a Wonder Liang looks like he's just totally lost against Lequang Liem. Down a pawn now. White's king still isn't happy, and now there's going to be protected passed pawns in the E and D files. This one is definitely over at this point. I mean, just terrible position. How is... That does not look good with those free pass pawns.
Shaba. How is Shaba doing against Banush? That's actually an interesting game.
Yeah, I mean, every game of Shaba's in this league, I love watching because he never fails to play exciting chess. And here you see he has king on h2 is actually perfectly safe. The black's king is also is quite safe as well. And now rook h8 and pawn h6 is definitely in the cards. But the king still has a bunch of safe squares on g1 in particular. So I think Shaba's better here. He has control of the c file. That bishop on e4 is very strong now. And actually maybe white can use the h file first.
Yeah, I think it's a complicated position. It's kind of hard to judge. I mean, white's got the control of the c file, and also black's queen is very passive.
Right.
And I think that's definitely important here. And I wonder, you know, whether he can do something to activate that queen, like b5 and queen b6. Because, I mean, black's position isn't, like, fundamentally bad. The knight on f5 is good, and white's king is very open. What about the move b5, Robert?
Yeah, b5 is a tempting option for sure. Opening up that b6 square, like you said, for the queen. I wonder, though.
This is also making sense. White might go to, like, rook c2, or is the check on d2 not dangerous?
That's a great question. You can retreat the rook back to c2 or bring the rook up to c2. The only reason I'm concerned about playing a move like b5 is in the case of an endgame, where maybe the queenside pawns have moved a little bit too far and are harder to defend. That said, you know, you're not in an endgame anytime soon, and you need to create more space for your pieces. The move b5, you want rook e to d7. So now rook c2.
Yeah, it's very hard for white to trade the bishop on f5 because then the queen is going to come in with queen b7, you know? So I think white needs the bishop on e4, but in that case, the knight on f5 also stays on the board.
Yeah,
so I think b5, like, let's go and activate that queen.
I'm with you. I think b5 is an option. Knight d4 is also tempting. But b5, yeah, keeping kind of the status quo. Knight e7.
Okay, what's that about?
So this f4 pawn is weak and a little backwards. If I'm white, I was going to say queen h4 followed by king g3 is always an option. The bishop on e4 does well to cover the d3
square. Yeah, he's going to go rook d2 now. He needs, okay.
But now b6 feels a move too late. Your idea with b6 was definitely better, I feel like.
Interesting. So he's freeing up the queen now. He wants to go queen b6.
Wait, Isn't rook h3 an idea here?
Definitely is. But you know, he's gonna play like rook d2.
But I'll take you on d2, and then just
Rook takes d2 and bishop g2.
no, king g3 maybe instead.
Oh, you know, he's got like, well, he's not gonna play queen g8 there. No,
Here
king
comes rook
G3.
h3.
Yeah, king g3. Okay. Yes. Well, knight e7, I have to say, looked kind of weird.
Yeah, moving your piece backwards like that did not help out. You needed your move with b5 was really strong, getting the queen out quickly because you need that activity that will be your form of counterplay. Instead, you're just passive, and now the queen's coming to h6. Oh, h6 with check, and the h file, of course, is definitely in trouble.
Actually looks losing for black.
Yeah, it does not look very good at all. Maybe you can get away with making a move like, I mean, I can't say it with a straight face, but h5 and trying to run your king to h7, but that looks terrible. Because just take en passant.
He might have to do that, but it just doesn't. It doesn't look like it's gonna. Well, okay. If he goes rook d2, we take and play king g3.
Yeah, the g3 is a safe haven.
What do you think about this, Robert? Oh, I got an idea for you.
Okay.
Okay, rook d2, trade, king g3, queen h8.
So if I was first wondering if I have to trade on d2, if I can go king g3 first. But let's trade and let you go queen h8.
Yeah, I wanted queen h6, king g8, and then come out with my queen to g7. And I was wondering if I could hold that because my rook was very good, you know?
Wow, that is the most bizarre looking position.
Idea.
No, it might work. It really might work. So that's actually I think after rook check, you might have to have gone king g3 first and just sort of ignored the rook.
Yeah, because here it's like white's pieces are lined up to take an h7, but they can't.
Right, but you might be able to just. Okay, I was gonna say this move looks good because knight g8 is never possible because bishop takes g6 hangs. So like knight g8, bishop takes g6, and you win the rook on h8.
So what's happening here now? The rook is on e2, and
so
what is white's threat? Well, white doesn't really have a threat.
Right, I don't understand rook e2, honestly.
Wow. So black is about to play queen b6 and finally get that queen in.
Yeah, what was rook e2?
Oh no, white's given up on his attack. Well, I think I don't know, maybe he's right, but things are looking, things did not just go the way white wanted. What did we miss there? So we didn't see the move rook h8, right? I mean, that was unexpected.
Yeah, because it's so passive looking, but somehow...
Yeah, I didn't even see that. Like, honestly, this rook h8 move. Wow. Okay.
And Webster is down 5-6 to the pawn grabbers, which means that the pawn grabbers' bottom two boards have done well this round, just for the record.
Webster's down to the Pittsburgh. Okay, so Shaba needs this point for the team.
Yes, because
they all do, yeah.
Kwang Liam did, in fact, win that game.
Yeah.
So f5, such a Shaba move. What is that? e6 check coming? Whoa. But what about just king e8?
King e8.
Oh, then queen g7?
Wow.
And then rook f8, make rook c2 coming or something? I don't believe in this. I really don't believe in this.
Oh, you don't think it'll work? Well, it's maybe the best that like white had to make things messy.
The problem is the knight on e7 is such a strong defender. So even if you get this rook to c2, the knight on e7 covers the c8 square. And I mean, what else can you do here?
Rook c2 and bishop c6 somewhere?
So I am just holding on to hope that my rook on d1 covers the d7 square.
Yes.
So, for example, queen b6 now. Or, well, maybe queen b6 isn't best. Maybe queen...
Or queen b8.
Well, queen b8, I'm worried about rook c8 check. Oh, no, sorry, not queen. Sorry. I was saying if the queen moves away, let's say to f4, I was then worried about some kind of rook c8 check. I don't know if it works.
Oh, that could have been a really pretty mate.
Yeah, I don't know if it works, but it's just something.
Yeah, I think it definitely works.
Well, it's not mate yet, but it's...
How is it not mate?
So rook c8, knight takes c8.
Bishop c6.
Yeah,
there's king d8, but queen...
Right.
Like queen f8. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe.
My essential goal was to go e7 check, force you to take with the knight, take your rook, take your knight with check, and hope and somehow hope that I have enough checks to save the game.
Yeah, okay.
But queen d6...
That was interesting. Queen d6 is a nice, safe move.
And it's annoying that this rook on g3 is pinned as well.
Yeah, poor white just can't use all of their pieces.
Yeah, this doesn't look good.
Yeah, well, he threw everything he could at him, but Banush defended well. Yeah, that was kind of an impressive defense. Like, it looked like white was already breaking through, and he just calmly played rook h8 and king f7 and like totally held him off.
Sometimes that's how you beat Shaba, honestly, is you just kind of do something that's kind of calm, and he'll do something crazy. He's one of those players who loves the act. He's an incredibly strong player. I mean, the utmost respect towards him. I really do respect him as a player, but sometimes he just kind of goes off the walls with his attacking opportunities, and here we see it backfire, because f5 did not feel necessary at all. All right, so who else is playing? Fabiano Caruana is playing Anatoly Bekovsky. But those games have just started, so we don't need to focus on that. I'm just pulling up as many games as possible. The Iturizaga game against Akshat Chandra. Somehow Iturizaga has 11 minutes and Akshat Chandra has 14 seconds. And Akshat Chandra's position is not looking very good.
Ooh, let's take a look. Iturizaga, he's someone who's done quite well in the league, and his games are pretty exciting. And
yes,
11 minutes versus 11 seconds. That's kind of a difference.
Do you know who that favors? Because I'm not sure. I don't know if I can figure that one out.
Yeah, Akshat. Yeah, how does he get so low on time?
I feel like I see that every game of his ever, like in classical time control and.
Yeah.
But
that's
okay.
a bit extreme. Even for time trouble addict,
Yeah, but what about his A pawn here? Will that be able to save the day? Okay, trading on the e2 square. So the c pawn is strong.
His bishop is really bad on g7. Oh, c6 now, game over.
Wait, rook c8 and then rook c2.
Yeah, there was rook c2.
Oh, there. But now there has to be some sort of
knight b6.
Rook e8 here. Does that work?
Ooh.
So rook e8 takes, check, king moves to h6. I take, we both queen, but I feel like white's queen is stronger, but maybe I'm...
Interesting.
I don't know. So something to keep in mind is rook e8.
So c7 just doesn't quite work. Yeah, c7, you just go like rook c8 and you...
Oh, then rook e8.
No, we could play rook e8 there. And
yeah, exactly. Rook e8 there.
Just put the rook in a8, right?
Yep. And not to mention the king is nowhere good to go. Knight e6 actually is a big threat as well. So yeah, that's the winning plan. c7, rook c8, rook e8 was played, and this is game over. And he flagged. So Iturizaga finishes off up 10 minutes on the clock, and plus 10 in the position.
Player.
So that's not good for Chandra. He needs to speed things up. And Shabalov is still in this because both sides only have 15 seconds left.
Where's Shaba?
Super Bliss. Wow, how did he survive this? In fact, I don't think he's losing anymore.
Oh, here we go. Okay. 16 seconds versus 10.
So Shaba, we look away for a second. I think it's better for him when we don't watch.
Yeah. Yeah, well, now it seems like it's going to end in a draw, and both sides are happy.
Right, because Black could have taken this pawn on e6, but didn't want to give up this h7 pawn and worry about king safety. So, wow, I don't know how this ended in a draw. It looked like all of a sudden things were going really well for Black, and I'm sure Black was winning, but probably went wrong at a critical moment.
I'll be right back, Robert.
Okay. Well, that leaves me to my own devices, and that's dangerous for all involved. But I'll pull up some of these other games here. We have Akobian and Ehrenberger playing. We have, how many games do we have? We have Patel and Zherabuk. So that is the battle of board 3 versus board 4. We have Becerra playing Andrew Tang. So many different games here going on. Julio Becerra with the white piece against Andrew Tang. Well, what Black has going for him, that's Andrew Tang, is that this pawn on c3 is a bit of a target. However, this knight on e4 is much better than the bishop on f4. And in fact, if this queen can start getting into the game, there are certain checkmate ideas as well. So Black is not really threatening to go f5 ever, lest his king become in grave danger. So yeah, this doesn't look great for Black at this given moment, and the time situation also is not good. And this is a type of position that Julio Becerra loves. It's kind of a grinded out type of position. His knight on e4 is the best piece, and he's got all the time to figure it out. So we have Hou Yifan with the black pieces against Federico Perez Ponza. She is at the beginning of her game against Grandmaster Ponza, so yeah, we don't have to look at that yet. And just as a reminder to everyone, as I try to read the scores out. Right now, Montclair is losing 3.5, 4.5 to St. Louis. Miami champions are leading against Minnesota. The pawn grabbers are slightly ahead of the Webster Windmills, which is the surprise to me. The Windmills have been the number one team. And then the Buenos Aires Krakens are up 6.5, 5.5 heading into the final.
The last, round of matches are extremely critical because it's actually a very close day.
Oh, I love the close days. Some matches in the past, remember Amsterdam beat London like 14-2. Those aren't exciting after a while because at some point you just feel sorry for the team. But right now we have a bunch of good matches involved.
Montclair is 1 point behind. They really, really need to win.
Yes.
Against the St. Louis Archbishops. Now, Webster is behind Pittsburgh. If they don't win, it's not the end of the world for them. But then Pittsburgh is going to overtake them.
Right.
In first place, according to my standings right here. Actually, they're not going to overtake them. They're only going to tie them.
Well, they'll tie them, but maybe
take them in game points.
Exactly. So it'll be very close head-to-head there, but that's not a loss that Webster wants to suffer this late in the season. And I have John Bartholomew's game open against Nicholas Rosenthal. With the white pieces, Bartholomew is certainly better because they're weak and exposed light squares in the king side. That said, Black has quite a solid setup right now with this bishop on d6 protecting that in f8 and blockading the passed pawn. So. I mean, White is
doing a funny job of not letting the queen come in, right? Like even queen e8 is not quite deadly. But this looks still kind of bad for Black. I mean, Black's in a purely passive role. It's hard to imagine without your knight ever being able to move that you can hold on in this position. But maybe queen e8, you play queen b8. And then queen f7, you play queen c7. And you just try to trade the queens and hold off White like that.
I actually really like that because once the queens get traded, I don't really love queen f7. Well, it attacks h5, I guess. But what I was going to say is once the queens get traded, or if the queens get traded, I should say, the king can run to f7 very quickly. So Black desperately needs those queens off the board.
White's going to go g4, I think.
Is Black going to go g6 in response?
Ooh, maybe.
Wow. That's a brave decision, but that's kind of a good idea, getting some active counterplay.
Yeah, the move queen f7 is very interesting, actually, because, how do we defend h5? We could go queen e2, I guess. We could. But we can't. Because
d5, right?
Yeah.
And bishop g4 allows f5, so that doesn't look very wise either. So g4
played. Is kind of forced, and I certainly would look at that move, but maybe he doesn't want to. Okay. So he wants to go queen b6 and queen c7. I think that's his plan.
Well, so d5 is still hanging.
Still hanging. How many times will I hang that pawn?
It's okay. I blunder other people's pieces all the time. It's part of the job description. But, queen d3 was played. Now g6 is not possible. Now that knight in f8 is stuck, I think he had to go g6 there, at least to get some sort of counterplay. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Becerra versus Tang because Tang is under a minute and actually under 40 seconds. And Becerra has pushed his pawns up the board a little bit, and the knight on e4 is still so strong. That is a beautiful piece. That's a unicorn on e4. Sometimes the knight is a donkey when it has no good options. Right. That knight on e4 is great. It protects f2, it protects c3, it can jump into c5 or f6 at the right moment. I'm trying to think what the right move order here. Starting with rook d8 is very tempting.
Oh, you want to get a checkmate.
Every now and then it's nice to deliver a little. Quick
maybe queen f5 here. Is that okay? At least it sort of. Oh, queen f5. You also maybe have rook f6.
Although then you can move back your queen back. So maybe it's.
Queen f5 seems possible. At least you're sort of staying around there.
Queen c4, a little bit risky. But
he
also.
He wants to go rook a1.
Yeah, he's trying to throw in
checkmate White unexpectedly.
So you do have to be careful because that actually is quite an annoying threat. And if you're White here, you can go queen d3. So you transfer your advantage from a more tactical one to an endgame where that pawn on b5 is the weekend. Of course, Julio does not miss his opportunity.
That was a good call. That move was important for White, queen d3.
Yeah, both stops checkmates, and the queen trades certainly will help White. So queen c8, good-looking move, coming to the g4 square, or trying to come to the g4 square. And now can't go f3 because then there's check on a2. So that's a good move in response by Andrew Tang.
How about queen d1?
Oh, I like that move. Queen d1 simultaneously defending against rook a1 and protecting the g4 square. Though the question
might
is,
go like queen a8.
that's frustrating, yeah.
Then you go queen d5.
And then queen back to c8.
Queen c8.
Yeah, this queen c8 idea is very good.
And then when he goes queen c8, do we finally have f3? It's still very risky to play that move.
Right, so what we're discussing is queen d1, queen a8, queen d5, again offering the exchange. Oh, not there. Trying queen c8. And then f3, with the idea being the queen on d5 covers is very important, a2 square.
Well, Julio needs to play for the win. He's got a lot more time, so he can't just like repeat the position here.
Yeah, and for his team's sake, they're up a point right now, so he doesn't, Julio can keep it calm for the moment.
Oh, no. But come on, Julio, you're okay.
Oh, queen f3.
You gotta not repeat.
Wait, but rook a1 now?
Rook a1. Okay, queen d3.
But that could have only helped black, I feel like.
Yeah, sure. He let the rook in for free. But
so queen c8 now. You don't even have.
Maybe rook d7 though.
Oh, that is so sneaky.
Yes.
That's actually ingenious.
D7. Oh, okay. Tang saw that. Well, okay. So Julio achieved what he wanted here. Now the king will come to f3 and defend the knight.
So rook d5. Oh no, this has to be over. Rook d5. Bring that king to d3, like you said. Give up your g pawn for the b pawn, and then start pushing.
Rook d5. Rook b6.
Okay, I think move order is not totally important right now, but that was a good looking move with allowing this rook to a1 to take it away from the protection of the d7 square.
Oh, you know what he wants? Rook d8, knight f6 now. Okay, he didn't quite manage it. Maybe he will.
But now knight d6 first, right? That way if king e7, knight c8 check, and the threat is rook d5. So you're winning the b5 pawn. So knight d6 here, or knight f6 actually is also very good.
Right, knight f6 looks good. Because there's no king e7.
Right, and you always have knight d5 then, trying to attack the bishop. But so knight d6 and knight f6 both look very strong. Okay,
this is also good.
That actually was the best move of all because you're keeping the king cut off. Now you just go rook to c7, let's say, and then bring your knight to f6. Okay, it didn't matter. And black's also about to flag, so rook b7 here is the best move.
Rook b7, you just want to keep it technical, yeah? Win the pawn.
There it is, Julio.
It's not like black is threatening anything.
Oh, knight d6 check, game over.
Oh, knight d6, even better.
Nice
job, Julio. All right, so he did.
Okay, we're gonna get off this.
Trick his young opponent.
Yes, and a nice performance indeed. And I have a bunch of different games open because, okay, we could stay with Julio just for a couple more seconds just because, well, 6 seconds were black, but this B pawn is unstoppable. I mean, just start pushing it home.
How is Yarrow doing against Patel? This actually looks really interesting, but mostly for black.
Whoa. Whoa,
I do think we're going to see something very exciting in this game, but all the excitement will be from one side.
Yeah, because all the pieces are barreling down the b2 square. What is that? Knight? Isn't just king f8 just even win a piece? Okay, king h8 is safer.
Yeah. So now, I mean, that looks like the most perfect Sicilian ever.
It, definitely came from the Najdorf, and you're right because you can't move this b pawn because c3 is falling. Although actually f5 is now under attack, so
yeah, it is. But somehow I think the a2 pawn is going to be the big thing here.
That is a little bit important, one would say.
Knight takes a2 right now.
Yeah, I mean, just over.
Yeah, he's mating here, I think.
So Patel, despite being a strong international master, young player, has not had a good day at the office.
No, this is going to be his third loss, and this one looks to be quite.
So rook c8 check, right, and a bishop c4 just take on c4. That looks promising.
Yeah, that looks like you're going to mate them on e8 square when they finally run out with the king.
Even just g takes f5. I mean, so many moves look very good here, but what an interesting looking game here.
All right, Julio won. John Ludwig won against Sean Nagel.
Oh no, Sean Nagel, you're letting me down.
He's playing for the Blizzard, right?
Sean Nagel, yeah, he plays for the Blizzard.
Blizzard, yeah.
There's an interesting looking.
How is Robert Van Kampen doing against Obregon?
Okay, where is Kempsey?
3-5. Okay, they got even number of pawns, but I'm liking White's position. I think it must look pretty good.
Yeah, the b6 pawn in particular is super weak. The e4 pawn is a potential target, but doesn't look like anytime soon that's falling down. And right in the current position, at some point, knight d6 will be in the air, but it doesn't quite work out yet, I don't think. Because queen d6, excuse me, queen d8, rook e takes d8.
What I'm thinking about, yeah, Robert, you're saying queen d8,
Yep.
rook d8. How about knight c7?
Wow, that's a sneaky move, just heading to d5.
Yeah, I just want the d5 square.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think once the knight gets there, it's going to be kind of tough for black. So White seems to have a pretty nice advantage here.
Yeah, I was also looking at ideas of queen takes d8 and knight d6, but that's not as strong as what you just suggested with this knight c7. Knight c7 is a great idea.
Yeah, as long as there's no like discoveries, right? And I don't think they work. I mean, there's some knight c5 move, pawn takes, rook d3. Oh, maybe.
But then I take
Pawn d6, bishop e4. I mean, black could try to keep it messy.
yeah, but that's a nice protected pawn on b6 that I would be very worried about from black's perspective. That's
Okay.
that's a good idea. So rook d1 was played, just protecting everything. And I guess the point is, what is black's next move? I mean, the queen can come out to f6 or something. Oh, d7 is hanging. The queen cannot go out to f6. And
on queen e7, there's knight d6.
right. And also just bishop f1 or probably something like that also does the trick.
Yeah.
Lots of
White's
pins.
got a big edge in this game. Okay, Yarrow won.
Yarrow won. Who did he
Found
beat?
some way to win quickly.
He beat Mr. Patel. Yeah, he just checkmated him. Sad game for Patel. Patel's 0-3 now. What is going on with...
We haven't taken a look at Raja.
Okay, let's check out Raja.
Raja, we haven't seen him for a while, and he's got his typical interesting position. Well, what's going on? He's totally winning here, I think. Yeah, should be winning.
Yeah, the black king is too weak. I was going to say, oh, something on e4 is hanging, but you're giving up f3 in the process. And of course, f3 is the more important pawn. And black has 2 pawns for the exchange, but it's not working here because now rook takes g5 actually is a threat. That was the important move, king a2. Because if rook takes g5, there is the move f2 to start with. And you're distracting the rook or the queen, and then you pick up the rook on g5. So
and now you're saying that white will have time to play the move rook takes g6.
Exactly. So like let's waste a move for black. Rook g5, f2. I take on g6, threatening a back rank mate, and pawn takes g1 is not with check. So it's an important. King a2 is a nice move, just getting out of the way.
Yeah.
All right.
So it looks like Raja's gonna win.
Yes.
Fabiano has already won.
Okay.
How did we miss his game? Well, it's ended in some kind of rook endgame with him having a lot of extra pawns. And we got Akobian. Okay, Akobian and Ehrenberger down to their last couple of minutes. White's got 6 pawns, black's got 5. Bishops of opposite color. White's advantage looks very significant.
Yeah, that's a clean extra pawn, and that pawn can start rolling down the board. The knight on e1 covers the c pawn, will not get moving. The king on g1 can quickly run to e3. No, I mean, just a6, a7 is probably a good start.
Yeah.
That's
So, I mean, he's going to, like, put that bishop on c6 now. And white's going to come out with, like, knight c2. And, like you said, move up the king. Should be not that difficult to win for white.
And St. Louis is already up 6.5, 3.5. So this win will push him to 7.5, 3.5 if he converts. And St. Louis is just running away with this one. So Montclair will, I believe, be eliminated from playoff contention if they lose this game. So,
so sad.
Yeah, I almost feel bad, but
Now, you're not playing in the league this year, Robert. Is it because you're commentating, like, all the time?
Yeah, I'm commentating every week, and there's a rule where I'm not allowed to play and commentate. I asked. I tried.
Oh, really, Robert? Because I was wondering myself, like, Alex Lenderman told me that the women get, like, 100-point bonus.
That is true.
I mean, so he was contemplating, having me play for, like, a team,
Well,
and And I was like, wow, well, at that rating, I would be quite good value for the team, you know?
Oh,
100 points is a lot.
That's why Chengdu is so strong, because they have Zhu Wenjun, who not only is one of the best players in the world, period, but also helps the team with like an 100-point average bonus.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge, actually, for sure. So, but then I was wondering if I could both commentate and play. Well, I guess now I have my answer.
Unfortunately not. And I just pulled up Nico Cheka's game against Forrest Chen, because speaking of unfortunately, it looks like Forrest Chen is going down in defeat once more. Nico Cheka has bishop and 2 pawns for the rook, and those 2 pawns are very, very passed. And yeah, there's no stopping them at the moment. So not looking good for Mr. Chen. I'm always rooting for him to do well, and it seems like it's not meant to be.
Do you know him?
I do not. I don't even know what he looks like. I don't know how old he is. I have no idea, except that he is Forrest Chen. And it's tough. The reason I root for him is because being board 4 when the rest of your team is all these strong grandmasters, it must be tough when you're kind of losing every game and they're winning, and you feel like you're letting the team down. So I feel for him in that regard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think he feels that way, like he's letting the team down? Because he's already doing them a favor by sitting down to play, you know, so that they can all play.
Yeah, and he has drawn some grandmasters this year, so it's not like he's been totally...
well, that's nice. So he must be young.
Yeah, I really have no idea. I would assume so, but what do I know? I'm pulling up every single game possible right now because we're heading towards the final stretch. I almost clicked on Alex Shimano versus Hikaru, but they're playing 3-minute blitz. But that probably would be an interesting game nonetheless.
Well, let's go in. Varouge is playing Ehrenberg, and they're down to like the last second. So
okay.
Take a look.
Whoa, so we have this opposite colored bishops, but the king is now coming to c3. The a pawn is very passed. You can't take on d5. This looks bad.
Okay. Any chances at all? Not many.
Because,
wow, even the knight can barely move.
Yeah, and you can also go after the g pawn now and take on g5, take on f4. But okay, this is simple enough. I mean, this...
Oh, this looks so bad.
Bishop e7 and then go d6. I mean, that also is possible. So
maybe he's gonna start maneuvering his knight from b4 somewhere.
Okay, bishop f6 now. His idea is if king b7, you go d6 and
d6. Yep. Like right now.
Yeah, d6 is light.
This is a nicer one. I love the trade.
Yes. Game over.
Yeah, trade, take on c4, and relax.
d6. Okay, you could have went d6.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. The move order.
This has not been a good night for Ehrenberg.
No, it's not a good night for Ehrenberg. I feel like Ehrenberg's been struggling a bit in the league, but maybe I'm mistaken. But I feel like it's been a theme where he's had a bit of difficulty. Okay, I don't even know why you're still playing at this point. You're down 40 seconds and also 2 pawns. Yeah.
Well, maybe he's playing for stalemate, you know?
Eric Rosen did get move of the week for his stalemate attempt, so.
Let's see. All right, so we got, okay, Panjwani. Why don't we just take a look at Panjwani? Some weird things are happening there.
Whoa.
And it's not all that bad looking for black anymore.
Wait, what just happened?
Yeah, that pawn is like on f3 and...
So knight d3 was played.
He's losing the exchange. Wait, there's some weird things happen. That's crazy.
Yeah, wait, why didn't he take on g5? What?
So he didn't take on... Why didn't he take on g5?
I'm wondering the same thing. I don't have an answer.
Okay, like rook g5, like f2...
But then you take on
g6, queen takes g6.
Okay, we trade queens. I go.
And then you just go rook f1,
and then knight d1, and then take your pawn.
Yeah.
So that's a weird decision, because now he went knight d1, and now there's knight. I mean, he must have missed knight c1 check, but now he's just totally losing.
Oh, this is terrible. Oh no.
So what's the match score? Because this might actually end up the 6.5, 6.5.
For
It's Chessbrahs,
right? For the Chessbrahs.
So 6.5, 6.5.
They need those points.
Oh no, that is tragic. And they've had this problem all year where they're blundering rooks, they're blundering pieces. This is okay. Let's go over to Hou Yifan's game because she's obviously on the Montreal Chessbrahs as well. And with the black pieces, I really like her position against Federico Perez Ponce. So she will try to win the game for her team. And that leaves Robin van Kampen as the final straw there. We didn't like Robin van Kampen's position earlier.
Yeah, she's doing great. I mean, h4 is falling. No. White doesn't really have any position to speak of there.
Yeah, just queen d6. Okay, c4 is a nice move going to f2 with check.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's over. So Hou Yifan proves her might in this one after struggling in several straight games. And that leaves Robin van Kampen for sort of all the marbles here because what is going on?
Let's see. All right, let's take a look. Oh, yeah, but we didn't like his position. Do we like it better now?
I like it much better than before because that queen on c7 doesn't really have a nice outlet. Now you can play, I was thinking, do you want to take on b8 and get 2 rooks for the queen?
Yeah, but then they take, okay, so he did do that. Sacked. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, an interesting imbalance.
Yeah, okay, bishop c7. So he's got 2 rooks and a pawn for the queen.
But e4 is about to fall very quickly.
Yes, so actually, wow.
I sort of like black in a sense because bishop g5 to e3, excuse me, bishop g5 to e3 will be annoying. I would play bishop f3 immediately if I'm white. That way you just say, I'm trying to get rid of this knight. I can put a rook on e2 next. You just need to make sure that this knight doesn't come and haunt you a bit later.
Yeah, bishop f3, do they have queen c4?
Oops, they do, and I just didn't see it. So I will say bishop f3 is not a good move. So
What can white do here to like not lose that pawn? Ooh. Yeah, no, it's much harder for white to play than for black.
Maybe bishop d8. Just sort of, offering the trade and getting this, stopping you
Offering a good trade, right, Robert? I mean, if they accept, we're happy.
Well, if they accept, that would be the friendliest gesture anyone's ever done because...
he read your mind.
Well, I guess I suggest half decent moves every now and then. Perhaps it's bad, but...
I think it's actually quite good. I mean, he needs to at least try to play for this back rank mate and stop bishop g5, and I guess black's just going to go like g6 or something.
What about queen h6?
Queen h6, wow.
Right, I mean, just coming in for checkmate ideas. Maybe rook b3.
Yeah, I might go like rook b3, though. I can sort of hold off with one of my rooks.
That's true. And you're probably just in time to save the day there. Yeah, that looks okay.
Yeah. So maybe just like g6. And then white's going to trade and play like c5.
Or now bishop f3 is also possible. But yeah, c5 looks very good, bringing that knight to d6. No, white is clearly in the driver's seat in this one, which would be tragic for the Chessbrahs.
Yeah, like we're not seeing the teams that really badly need to win. Like, I mean, well, they can still win, but actually no. Montclair, well, right now they're down a bunch.
Actually, if the Chessbrahs lose this game, I think they're eliminated because their tie breaks. Yeah, no, if the Chessbrahs lose, they're completely eliminated. And even if they win the match, they're still in trouble because St. Louis is winning, and they're far behind Minnesota in terms of game points. So this might be the end for the Chessbrahs already with St. Louis well ahead. Did St. Louis clinch already? No, St. Louis up 7.5, 4.5.
So Robert, like with your experience in the pro league, like what kind of team what's your ideal team? You'd pick a lot of women, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think Chengdu has had fielded the strongest team. They have not only Zhu Wenjun, but Chu Ruotong, who's their board 4, who's like was at the time of the league starting 2175, and now is like 2280 or something. So underrated, gives your team extra points. And I'm still not certain how I feel as we go over to some other games. By the way, Raja Panjwani did in fact lose his game. He was completely winning.
Heartbreaking for Raja. I can't believe it. It's a little unlike him, you know?
Yeah, extremely solid player.
Like that. Yeah.
But I was going to say, some of these solid teams, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, who don't have firepower, immense firepower on the top boards. I mean, Wonder Liang has been playing out of his mind. But to be frank, he's not of the same caliber as, let's say, Fedoseev, who can be board two, not just board 1, board 2 for St. Louis. But somehow Pittsburgh keeps it together around. Maybe it's because of people like your good friend Edward Song. But I don't know. I think having a little bit more balance is generally better than stacking your team. And I think Sweden does a really good job. Or Stockholm, the Snowballs, they have Georg Meyer, Evgeny Agrest, and a third GM,
Right.
and then they have
I did cover the time that they played. Now, whoa, Robert Van Kampen is not doing well, Robert.
Uh-oh.
He just lost a bishop for
Wait.
like nothing.
How did that just happen? He just, what?
It was attacked.
And he went for an intermediate move, thinking that he's attacking bishop on f3, but forgot.
Oh, so bad. Oh no. Oh, he needed that bishop.
He needed that bishop. He probably needed like 3 more bishops. But somehow he's finding a little bit of counterplay with queen d4 check in the air. Actually, queen d4 picks back material up, which is...
Oh, interesting. Okay, so he's White's gonna need to think a little bit. Well, he just... Okay, he's counting on rook d1, which is gonna be a winning move here.
Yeah, rook d1 or c6.
Wow. I thought rook d1, but he wants to just queen that pawn. That's a nice strategy.
Yep. Just bring this rook to a protected square now. So back to
c1, I guess.
Yeah, and the problem is knight e4. You can even just go rook takes e4 and then promote your pawn.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, Robert? On knight b3, he just goes c7. Yeah.
Yep. And that's all because knight c1, rook takes c1, and then queen. That's over. So Buenos Aires, who is in dead last place, upsets the fans of Montreal Chessbrahs. They have many fans. I'm telling you, Irina, don't ever get on their bad side because they have many, many fans. And
so I should never point out when like Robin blunders a bishop. I should just be like, oh, it was an accident.
Exactly. I've learned my lesson. Just say, oh, something happened where, he was, of course, was a better player and something went wrong. But Hou Yifan did win, but it's going to be too little too late as Obregon is going to seize victory in this one.
Well, I have to say, when I saw the Buenos Aires team, right, I actually couldn't understand like why they're doing so badly because they actually seem like a very balanced team. Like we talked about that, and they've got, everyone close to 2,400 up to 2,600.
Yeah.
So for them to be like in last place was a little bit surprising, but now in this match they obviously did well.
Right.
It didn't really work out for Montreal.
Unfortunately for Buenos Aires, it's too little, too late, and they're not going to be. They're going to be relegated. It seems like based on the standings, they're in the bottom 2 in the division, but they might bring the Chessbrahs down with them, which is quite a sad.
Misery loves company.
Yeah, misery does love company. In this case, Montreal is looking like they're on the verge of joining them. So, okay, we have just several matches left here, and they're very close because just to hit up the scoreboard again, Pittsburgh up 6.5, 5.5 over Webster, Miami up 7-6 over Minnesota, and the St. Louis Archbishops up 7.5, 4.5. That match isn't so close. So let's stick to the Webster match.
Oh, can I just recommend a game, Robert?
Absolutely.
There's Iturrizaga who's playing Andrew Tang from the Blizzard.
Yep.
And their position just looks kind of unusual.
Wow, that is an interesting position if I've ever seen one because there are lots of pass pawns for white and an open G file and bishop
and it
h6.
looks like Tang must be crushing him, but like Iturrizaga is not taking much time,
And maybe he should have spent more time because bishop h6 here looks very painful.
Yeah, no, this must be like absolutely winning for white. Like the bishops on a4 and b4 are just like not in the game, and white's king is perfectly safe in f1. Like everything's very harmonious here. I mean, you know what's funny, Robert? Even the move d6 here is like absolutely playable for white, right?
So is a3, bishop a5, rook takes c5. I was looking at that as well. It's just like every move is just good for white. There's pins to this queen on b7. So what in the world happened to Iturrizaga? Because that is one of the strongest.
Bishop h6, g6, and h5.
Oh gosh.
For a start, you don't even have to take the rook.
It's so painful to see. I mean, that just hurts my soul.
Terrible, but it might have something to do with his opening. d4, knight f6, c4, b6.
Yeah, when you kind of. And then he went for an early d5 and just sort of ceded control over the center very quickly. So, Andrew Tang, now Grandmaster, GM elect. He will officially get the title soon, but not the performance that you want to see from Iturrizaga. And that's a huge, huge, huge win for Minnesota because they will tie it up at 7-7. And who else is playing? We have Julio Becerra with the black pieces against Akshat Chandra. Akshat Chandra doing well on the clock for a change. Plenty of time left here in this position. And he has
a good position.
Yeah, he'll have a good knight against a shaky bishop. That's not the worst bishop I've ever seen, that's for sure. But that knight is going to hop into c4 and eventually try to find its way to d5. And black has no targets to make use of. So looking very, very nice for Chandra right now. The A file is completely covered.
Julio's got a big problem to solve. I mean, I guess what I would look at is the move c3 here, knight c4. But then you can't go d5, Robert.
Right, because unfortunately for black, there's a fork on the b6 square, and that hits queen and rook.
So it's actually very difficult for black.
Can you, and the problem is starting with d5, you still just capture, and if pawn takes d3, take with the pawn on d3, and yes, the queen comes into d5, but now the e4 and c4 squares are completely under control for the white knight.
You might just go like knight e4 there.
Yeah, that's not fun at all. And in fact, it's so easy to play these endgames as white, and this is a Becerra type of position for white, because you can just go g3, h4, king g2, eventually maybe play h5, and take all the time in the world, you'll be in no risk. So, oof.
All right, so this might be a decent game for Akshat Chandra. He's also had a tough day today, right?
Yeah, he's this would be a great win for him. It will save his team in this match. And who else are we missing here? Okay, Laquang Liam and Shaba. We're gonna hop over there because two great players in the chess league. And Shaba's king looks like it's being hunted down. By the way.
And which game? Which is Shaba's game?
Liam Lei versus Super Bliss.
Oh, I found him.
And there's a great tactic here, just as I tune in. Knight f8 looks like a decent attempt to kick the queen from e6. In fact, the queen is trapped. Not only is knight f6 check just winning on the spot, but what I was going to say was knight h6 check is also winning, because after king h7, there should be just knight takes f7 and problems ensue in this ending. But of course, after the knight is coming to f6 with check, which is just simple. So
he's just kind of crushing him here.
I think
knights and white's knights, they make a slightly different impression.
Yeah, this knight coming into f or h6 is sort of lights out, and I don't see even a single attempt. So Shaba going down, which I believe will even the score in this. No, Pittsburgh is up 7.5, 5.5, which means was it Edward Song or what's his name? Nope, because Shetty's still playing. Edward Song must have won his game against Joshua Colas, because I see the other games still in play.
If I can find that game. Okay. We got Banush is playing a Wonder Liang. So that's important, actually. And they're down to their last few minutes. What can we say about this position? Oh, whoa. Well, we can say that white's winning. Like, totally.
That bishop on 8 is trapped, and the white king is like almost checkmated. e4 check. There's king f4 and king e3, and then bishop h6 check. Wow, it's getting, wait, is it white's move? Haha, it's white's move.
It is white's move, yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's just checkmate. So, well, I guess we have to calculate. So rook takes a8 is the natural looking move, but e4 check, king, one of these squares.
Let's try e3.
Okay, knight d5 check.
King e4.
And then rook b4 check, and at least I pick up your rook on a1. So I'm still losing, but I'm fighting. So he took e4, king e3 has been played.
Interesting that he took the bishop. Maybe he shouldn't have. Okay.
I think he's going to just liquidate into an ending where he wins a bunch of pawns on the queen side and is just up a bunch of pawns.
Yeah, takes on a7, takes on c6, yeah.
Right. And he's up a full rook right now, so unless he gets mated, he's very happy, Banush is.
Still, something tells me, I have a feeling it's not going to be this simple for him.
Okay, so knight.
I'm not sure about that move rook a8 because that bishop was kind of horrible.
Yeah, that bishop had absolutely nowhere to go.
King f3. All right, 2 pawns. But you know, black's got like rook c4 there. He's okay. Well, he's doing well. I'm just not so. I don't know if he's gonna win. Rook c4, I guess.
So many extra pawns, but rook c4 is knight b8 a move, or knight d2 actually is better. Trying to come to e4 with check, and now the black king might get mated. Both kings.
Nice if he could be a little more aggressive here, right? Rook a6 is funny too.
But can I take on c5?
Yes, I think so.
And okay, I can trade knights and then play with a pass a pawn, but that's not that easy to win with a bishop versus a knight. So rook c5 looks like a potential saving grace for Wonder Liang.
You know, what about like rook c5, maybe like knight d2? Can we throw that move in?
Ooh, I like that. Going to e4 or to b3, if depending on what the response.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to go king g7 there.
But then knight e4 looks strong.
Knight e4. Yeah, maybe white, you should keep the, keep both knights on the board. Maybe white can go on the attack here.
So knight
Okay,
b4
well, he went for
played.
simplification. He doesn't want to risk it. Does he need to risk it? He is the, well, maybe he thinks he doesn't need to risk it. They've got 7.5 points.
Oh, I totally forgot about the team situation with Pittsburgh. Well, Banusha's white, so he needs to. He's 5.5, right? He's playing for Webster, so a wonder needs this draw.
Playing for Webster, right? So a wonder is the one who needs a draw. Okay. Yeah.
And there's all 3 games are. Shaba lost, and that means it's probably 6.5, 7.5. The score just hasn't been updated yet, and here we have Grabinski and Shetty still playing, and that looks like. If anyone is better, it's Grabinski with the black pieces, so that's good for Webster, but should be a draw with the opposite colored bishops. So that means Pittsburgh is about to get their 8th point, and that means Banush has to win this game. There's no other choice if they want to survive this match.
Huh. Well, maybe rook d3 here, then king e4.
Oh, then rook d4 check back.
D4 back. Okay.
Black has very good chances to hold this. This
I
bishop.
think so. It's very hard for white to win. I'm kind of surprised he went for it. He just didn't have much time.
I guess he can try to put his knight on f4 now. So knight d5 is coming.
Knight d5.
But then,
e5.
yeah, bishop e5
And
is
then
a
a
good
bunch
move.
of checks too, also. Maybe some checks and like a check on a3 you can throw in. Why not?
Yeah, maybe rook a8, then just put the pawn on a6 first.
Yeah. I would predict a draw in this position.
Yeah, it's looking like this black bishop is going to stay on d4 and cover a lot of the squares.
Okay. Funny move. Bishop e5. Oh, bishop. Oh, even better. Well, there's your draw. Oh, no, the pawn is moving. Okay. King f6. Then
By the way, Irina, there's also the game Ehrenberg-Caruana. I know that St. Louis is sort of running away with the match, but still 4.5, 7.5, and Caruana has a rough-looking position against Ehrenberg, if I'm not mistaken, just because much more space for white, and if this holds up, then Caruana will be in big trouble.
Yeah, this makes you not want to play the Spanish, right?
Yeah, and it actually just reminds me of Caruana's black against Yaroslav Zherbuk in the U.S.
That's exactly
Championship.
what I thought of too,
Yeah, it's like, you don't even know where you go wrong as black, and all of a sudden your position is terrible and you can't move. So I'm keeping an eye on all these games. I'm going back to a Wonder Liang just because there's 20 seconds left versus 50 seconds. And actually, Grabinski game is similar in time, but that game is much more equal. And so I'm going to stay on this one for now. Wait, what? Rook e4. Wait, what? So now bishop e3 and a6 this is a draw. So
yeah,
Wonder Liang secures the draw, which means that Pittsburgh is about to be up 8-7, which is.
And what's the one remaining game in their match?
Grabinski and Shetty.
And who are those players? Like, what are their names?
ASMS9699 versus Grabinski_Spice.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, this game should just be a draw. I mean, I'm guessing somehow someone's going to lose because that's been the theme of the night, it seems like. But in Grabinski and Shetty, they are in an opposite colored bishop position where only black can really win, I guess, but.
Oh, I see this game. Wow.
So bishop takes f3 would have been a free pawn. Okay, not played.
So a draw is not good enough for Webster.
No, a draw is a huge achievement for Pittsburgh. So with a Wonder Liang holding down his game, and now.
Yeah, so he's going to hold on here. He's going to hold on, Shetty. This is not a problem.
Yeah, now it's easy, right? With the opposite colored bishops, very, very easy.
There's just like absolutely nothing for Grabinski to do.
Unless somehow white blunders and puts the rook somewhere where he can't protect f3. But other than that, it's just an easy draw.
So Webster might finally lose the match after winning 5 straight.
And the pawn grabbers, they've been dismissed week after week. Their manager has been upset because it feels like they're not getting enough respect. And I guess they're asking us to put some respect on their name because they're about to
Well,
take
I
home.
think we're respecting them, right? We're rooting for Edward Song.
That's true. Edward Song is your favorite player in the pro chessing. I know you're friends with many players,
Yeah.
but I can tell that Edward Song is your new favorite. So Edward, if you're
But
out there,
I like, the players who can, when they're 400 points lower rated, they still get like winning positions.
yes, yes, for sure. So a Wonder
Hard
Liang
not to root for that.
a Wonder Liang held the draw. That game is over, and thus Pittsburgh needs this half point from Shetty, and actually Shetty might win this somehow because he's now up a pawn. But good on Grabinski for not just making a draw, because the difference is unimportant essentially in this.
That's true.
Although
And,
actually it might come down to game points in the final week, in which case maybe he needs this draw for his team's chances. Don't know.
how about we take, well, I guess Akshat Chandra and Becerra. I mean, that's going to be an interesting game. I'm not sure if it's most important at this point. Well, Minnesota is worth watching. Yeah.
Oh, it's 7-7 there. So let's
7-7. So let's take a look at that.
wait. I'm gonna stay here just for this ending because I think all of a sudden Shetty wins this. Yep, Shetty's winning
Oh, really?
because there goes that A pawn.
Oh, wow. He lost 2 pawns, and yeah, that's just an easy win.
Yep, that's over. Wait, no, it's not.
Oh, no.
It's a draw. Wow.
Oh,
Okay,
he
that
could've
was
won.
weird.
He totally could have won. Oh, wow.
Yeah. All right. So Iturizaga lost to Andrew Tang, and that leaves us with Becerra and Chandra. So Becerra.
So this is a big game. Looks like Chandra still has a good position.
So Rook A8 here
like
just speaks
him.
for itself to me. I would have played Rook A8 instantly.
Yeah, it's hard to know why he didn't, huh? He's still thinking. What's he thinking about?
He's a glutton for time trouble, so maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah, you need those seconds later, Akshat. What is there not to like about that move?
I'm just
What
opening.
else does he want to do? Maybe Queen D7. Like, sure. I mean, there's lots of nice options. He might be thinking Queen D7, then the rook has to go back to B8. Then there's like Rook A6, and then the rook has to go to D8. And then Queen C7. I mean, maybe he's calculating that.
Yeah, that's very true. I just don't think it's a great use of time when you have so little. So Queen D7. Okay, I mean this has to be over, right? Because you're stuck as black. You have really nothing going on for you. So yeah, Rook B8, Rook A6, like you said, is definitely possible. Also just Rook A7 here, and you just say, you know what, Julio, you have no possible moves. You're tied down. So this is really, really bad. And what's the other game? There's a John Bartholomew playing as black against John Ludwig, and this was a Scandinavian defense.
Yeah, I thought he was doing really well, but obviously now he's not.
Wait a second. Isn't white just up in exchange?
Yeah, and I thought his position was perfectly good before, but something must have happened.
So all of a sudden, white is just up a lot of material. What is it? Is it exchange for a pawn? Yeah, so black has a pawn for his troubles. That f4 pawn is quite weak. The e6 pawn also is vulnerable. So how to judge this?
Well, he has to go like knight d7 now or something.
And again to c5. That's going to b3 would be.
Gotta at least try. But knight d7, the funny thing is, I might even, well, I guess on c5, I could play c5.
Oh, that's actually really funny. You just lock the knight in.
But then maybe you can try to get your rook into d5 or something.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess after knight d7, you could play queen d4 as well, just pinning the knight down to the rook, and then put a rook on d1 next. That doesn't look very fun.
ooh, rook d2. Okay, it's trying.
So.
Okay, he doesn't. There's no queen e3 yet. Rook c2. That's a nice move.
And a big problem for black is after rook c2, queen c2, there's no bishop takes f4 for 2 reasons. One is that queen e4, the bishop can't be protected, but queen f2 is also a nice double attack on the knight on b6 and bishop on f4. But queen e4.
Rook c2 is a very nice technical move, just like getting rid of that rook, trading down. Now you can see the black's position is getting quite hopeless.
So queen d7 maybe, just trying to gain some activity. There's always bishop h5, which ties the queen back to the g6 pawn.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
What about queen d7? Like, I don't know. I was looking at f5, you know?
Wow, you're adventurous. I'd say queen d4 check there,
I know
maybe,
it's
but
completely unnecessary. Yeah. Now he, okay. Well, c5. What about c5 here? Not doable?
and if bishop f4, queen e4 still exists. Yeah, no, c5 looks.
You know, I think for some reason when I was looking at the move c5 earlier, I was thinking the bishop would go back to f8, but now I see that wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, the bishop can't jump through the pawn, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's much worse for black than I thought, but okay. He wants just queen d6. I guess that's even better.
Ooh, that will be plenty nice. Once his queen gets in d6, the e6 pawn is a target as well. So right now, queen d6. There's no bishop f8. I was going to suggest it, but it can't work. So queen d6, what can black even respond to that move? Oh, maybe there's queen d6, knight e4. So queen d8.
e6 for there.
So going after this h4 pawn. What a greedy player.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. But I mean, it's not that it's bad, but...
Oh, not bad at all, yeah. Because you can also always go back to d6.
Take on h4.
So queen b6 here is probably good. Queen d6 is probably good. Queen takes h4 is definitely a good move. So now the black queen's going to try to slither over to a7. But...
Wow.
Actually, just to show...
I mean, I guess black is like dreaming of going like knight d3 and somehow being able to take that f4 pawn.
Right. Queen d4.
Yeah, he's very careful. Now the knight's going to go, well, what can you do? There's not much you can do. Knight b3, I guess you have to.
Akshat Chandra is down to 7 seconds left, so I'm going to jump. I'm going to be jumping between these two games.
Let's see that. So exciting.
Yeah, 7.7 seconds left. And Irina, these are one of those positions where, of course, white is better, but you do have to be careful about this pawn on c3, because if somehow that c2 pawn gets under attack, it's not the most fun pawn to have to defend. So rook b8.
Absolutely. And he's got like no time to make a plan or anything.
Right, and f4, there's the problems in the e-file, not to mention that if your pawn takes f4, you can't take with the pawn in f4.
Yeah, he's going rook a8 now. It's totally unclear.
Yeah, rook a8 is definitely the move. Even rook b8, one of these moves, but rook a8 is better. So rook a8, knight takes d6, and then rook a2, and all of a sudden...
Rook a2.
But then king...
Okay, fine. Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't even know if you have to take that, but I guess you could.
But now king e5, king takes d4.
Yeah, that wasn't so good. No, Julio, there was no reason to trade that bishop, I think.
Yeah, this is bad.
This is winning for white. But okay, rook f2.
Rook f2, king c3, and you're not even getting to my g pawn. Oh, but look at the time situation. 2, 1. Oh, he almost flagged. He had 1 second left when he made that move. Now rook g2.
Wow.
So
he's gonna go rook g3. Okay, king c3.
And his teammates are begging him not to flag.
Oh, it's winning. It's winning. King e5. It's pretty easy to win.
Yes.
You could absolutely do it.
King e8
and
here.
His team needs him to do it.
His teammates are begging him not to flag. This is great. They're in the chat room. Warren Paka, I believe, is Daniel Gorevich. Penguin GM1 is Andrew Tang. They're in the chat room just talking up a storm here, begging him not to... Okay. Wait, John Bartholomew won his game. What? Oh, no.
Wow. He won?
Oh, no. Poor John Ludwig.
Oh, the champions, like, some teams just don't get any luck.
What a blunder. F5. Let's blunder of the week. Oh, no. So we'll have to go back.
See that. That was Finn. How did that happen?
Oh, that was so bad.
Man. Oh, that's just too much.
Yeah, that can't happen. He could have just taken on h4 instead he puts f5 and losing the spot.
Oh, no. Oh, man, that's the thing. Is why you can't ever resign in these games, you know?
Oh, never resign. And right now, 4 seconds left for Akshat Chandra. The match is 8-7 in favor of Minnesota. So Becerra somehow needs to win this game. And, if he does, the match is tied. But unfortunately for him, it looks like, wait a second. That could not have been a good move.
He just won that pawn.
And he's down to 4 seconds left. So take on f4 with check, and then go rook g4 or something, and maybe... No, but yeah, the king is too close. Now actually white is... Wait, how do you stop this now?
Go king d7, maybe. No, king d7.
Oh, go rook f6. Go rook f6. No, don't do that. What was that?
Yeah, that was helpful for a white. Oh no,
Uh,
that was bad. Bad stuff here.
both sides are playing really badly, and the
Yeah.
players, the teammates, are still in the chat saying, "Please don't give me a
Okay.
heart attack." Now it's winning for white. Just
Yeah, it is winning. Well,
rook
let's just go
h7,
rook
rook h5.
h7.
Okay, king
Okay, this
e6
is
is
good
also
too.
good.
Even better. Okay, now it's easy. That's it. Game over. King
Take on
g6.
g6 and then go rook h.
Oh,
King.
fine, fine.
Yeah, this is easy now. So
Wow. So Akshat did eventually win that totally superior position, but that was way too close.
yeah, and I actually think that Minnesota went 4-0 that round. I believe that they were in trouble, and then all of a sudden they went 4-0 to win the match 9-7 after being down 7-5. So credit to the Blizzard. They brought the storm, and they stormed their way back to a nice 9-7 win. That leaves us, Irina, with the four games.
Are definitely, I mean, they're staying atop. I mean, it looks like, and Pittsburgh is winning too. So everything stayed similar. I mean, Webster and Pittsburgh are now tied for 1 and 2. Minnesota is still in 3, and the Archbishops are going to be in 4. So in terms of the top 4 teams going into the playoffs, I think we see who they're going to be.
Yeah, unless somehow Montclair can sweep 4-0 here. And I have Sergei Ehrenberg's game up against Fabiano Caruana. And I have to say, somehow this Black Knight got into h3, but there's a white passed pawn on the queen side on b4, and I'm not sure what's going on, but something tells me. I feel like white is doing well here just because of the placement of the piece on the queen side, and I don't believe in a black attack. So this is looking very interesting for sure, but all of a sudden here we have Fabiano Caruana fighting off Sergei Ehrenberg. Let's check out the other games as well. We'll go around the horn. We have Akobian with the black piece against Bykowski, and Bykowski has a passed c-pawn. Akobian has a passed c-pawn, and Bykowski is up a pawn, and his bishop controls the queening square. So I think Bykowski is
got an advantage, yeah.
And it looks like a pretty sizable one.
Varuja's c-pawn is strong too.
But I'm less concerned about it because the c1 square is very well defended. But maybe the idea is just go c2 and rook e1.
And rook e1, exactly.
This is a headache of a position. I mean, queen
yeah,
D.
I would say it's not easy for white to play at all, actually.
I agree with you. Maybe
they have to even start getting their c-pawn moving, which is not obvious how they're going to do it.
Maybe bishop d7 is an interesting starting move. Just kind of forcing your rook to make a critical decision, and that way also stopping you from going rook e1 in the future. So my idea with bishop
d7, maybe rook e7, or you know what, even rook e5.
Well, rook e5 is going to give you a check on the back rank.
Want to give you a check and push.
Actually, that doesn't work out in my favor because I can't. It makes it.
You can't go to c7.
Right, and after c2, oh, this is such a headache. Queen b8 there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. The queen can come back to b2. This is a real headache.
Oh, he tried this move.
Oh, Empress. So where do you go? Bishop d7.
So I think rook e7 makes most sense.
So rook e7 looks good.
You don't really need to attack the c-pawn because it wants to move forward anyway. So you might as well go rook e7 and keep that bishop under threat.
Right. That definitely makes sense to me. Maybe queen d6 is possible to rook e7.
Queen d6.
And then just trying to keep my pawn going towards the promised land. Let's see.
Right.
Wow, this is unreal.
Okay.
I think, honestly, the Sopranos have a chance in every single game right now because I'm trying to speed through all of them, but right now with Bykowski in such little time and with his passed pawn, I guess c7 is not a threat because c7 is met by rook c5. That's the only piece of good news I have.
Can't move anywhere, okay.
But queen b8 to start with seems like a very good idea. So c2, queen b8.
C2, queen b8, and rook e1.
Then c7. Oh, wait, then you take on a1. Oh, this is c2, queen b8 was played. So rook e1 made queen b8, queen b2 first, and just pinning that rook.
So you don't think rook e1 works for black here?
So maybe I go queen b2 there, just pinning your...
Oh, pinning.
But then you go f6. Oh, I'm so confused. And they have so little time. And by the way, I'm looking at these other games as well. Yaroslav Zverev is down a piece. No, he's getting his piece back. But okay, I'm pulling that game up really quickly. He was temporarily down a piece. He just won his piece back. And White has this passed pawn on h6, though White's queen side, and where the king is not very well developed. So if Black can hurry up, that pawn h6 actually might become a target.
Yeah, Black should be doing okay here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's interesting. I'm looking at the board 4. Advait Patel with the black pieces has 13 seconds left. He's down a pawn against Forrest Chen. His position is terrible. So Forrest Chen may be the hero that St. Louis needs, because all these other games.
Advait Patel, yeah, this would not be a good day for him.
Yeah, Ehrenberg has 8 seconds left against Caruana, and Caruana's position has definitely improved in the last few moves. In fact, Caruana now is up a pawn and breaking open the position.
Massively improved.
It's over.
Enough that it's probably just winning now.
Yeah, now rook takes b5.
And rook takes b5.
Exactly.
Just like the end.
Yeah, that's it, because you get 2 pieces for the rook, and the white king's not doing well either. So it looks like St. Louis is going to pull this one out anyway. I'll stick on the Bukowski game because I find it the most fascinating with his double pass.
Yeah, because they got like no time at all.
Yeah, no time.
Yeah,
both.
So Bukowski's pretty good, even with no time. I've seen him play blitz, but it's a tough situation. So.
Wait, what about just rook b1 here?
Rook b1.
Oh, rook b1, maybe queen d7 check. The king.
There's like perpetual, or
no, I'm gonna go c7 because we queen at the same time. And f1 is defended by the bishop, which is very important. So rook d5, what? Okay, so queen.
Ooh.
Oh, was that a huge blunder? That was a huge blunder. That's it. That turns the tables in Bukowski's favor.
Wait.
Oops. No, that was simple.
Not. No, not.
Oh, a huge blunder by Bukowski. It doesn't turn the tables in his favor.
All right. Var, well, he just had a little bit more time, to make those decisions. All right, let's see Advait Patel, because, is Forrest Chen going to make a big upset for his team?
It looks like it. I mean, team doesn't need it, but it's nice to have just to put in your back pocket. And I see one-legged parrot says, Robert, you suck. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. I did overlook that bishop f5 move. But right now in the Forrest Chen game, oh man, that e6 square, just throw that knight in there. Take on d6 right now.
He used to be down 1 pawn. Now he's down like 2 pawns. He's down 3 pawns. Oh no, poor Advait. This is disgusting.
He's going 0-4, and I thought he would have a good matchup because he's, an international master, almost grandmaster strength, and of course board 4 was supposed to be a gimme. Instead, he's getting crushed.
Wow. Forrest Chen, well, you rooted for him, Robert, so he got an upset tonight.
I'm always rooting for Forrest Chen.
Smothered mate here. He's going to mate him on the H file. Nope. He's going to promote some pawns. Don't blunder g4. He blundered g4. Okay.
Oh, he gets mated in one move. That would.
Notice that?
Queen takes g4 is coming. Oh,
yeah,
queen f3.
Please just pay attention.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So get a queen or don't.
Yeah, I think that extra queen might make the difference there. All right. So Forrest Chen.
So St. Louis swept. They went 4-0 that round. And that means the final score for the match is 11.5 to 4.5.
Wow.
And it looked, honestly...
They just couldn't do it, yeah. It wasn't their season.
It's not their season. They try to bring in a ringer in Bassem Amin, very, very strong Egyptian player, has reached 2,700. First player from Africa to do so. They had Alexander Lenderman, who really has led the way for that team, both last season and this season. Unfortunately, the other boards couldn't hold suit. And I actually think Nico Cheka had a really tough year. International master, 2470, 2480, whatever his rating is. But he just really couldn't hold his own against some of the grandmasters that he faced. And Montclair was a bad example of the even lineup, right? Pittsburgh has done really well with their grandmasters and top 2 boards, mixed in with an IM and Arena Crush's favorite player, Edward Song. And Minnesota has done well with Sean Nagel on board 4 and John Bartholomew on board 3. And it's not been good for Montclair. This has not worked out for them this season.
So that leaves them. Well, where does that leave them? It leaves them right now because Montreal also lost,
Yeah,
right? So everyone below them lost too. Robert. So
right,
it hasn't been like an absolute disaster. They're not going to qualify to the playoffs, but like they might not get relegated.
right. That's very true.
They do play another tough team in the last round. They play the Blizzard.
And the Blizzard for sure will want to win that, maybe to improve their seeding. Though, actually, let me pull up the standings here. But yeah, the Minnesota will probably look to be increasing their seed, if even possible. Otherwise, if teams are already set in their placement, it might not even be worth playing. So I'm going to try to find the standings. I have a scene open with that. So where is it? Somewhere here. And I think okay, I have the standings updated. Let me pull that up. And here are the Atlantic standings here. Pittsburgh leapfrogs Webster. They both have 6.5, 1.5, and are tied with 90 game points each. So maybe head-to-head is the final tiebreaker there. But wow, that is going to be really exciting to see the final week of action between them. Minnesota at 5.5 has decent tie breaks, but they definitely can get jumped by St. Louis. So that's the one concern you'd have with Minnesota, is jumping to the 4th seed. And Irina, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you are, let's say, Minnesota, would you rather face Webster or Pittsburgh in the playoffs?
Wow. If I am Minnesota, let me just take a look again. We got Minnesota is this very even lineup. So
Yep.
would we rather face Webster or Pittsburgh? Uh-huh.
Yeah, sort of very difficult question.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, on paper, Webster is a stronger team.
Right.
But the thing is that the Pittsburgh team has just overperformed this season. That's what I've seen. It's like the players they're using just simply perform over their rating.
Yes.
Right. And it's not only like a Wonder Liang, like they've got really good backup from Shetty and Song. So that's why I think, it's not that easy to say, is Pittsburgh really a worse team than Webster? I mean, they would be, I would say they would be, I would be kind of equivalent.
Yeah, I think it's really
After
hard.
all my analysis, Robert, I'll call it a draw.
Yeah, you took the cop out on that one. I forgive you.
I was like, my analysis didn't produce any insights.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think that's a totally fair assessment. I mean, from Minnesota's standpoint, I think playing a team like Webster is all right because your board 4 and board 3 are so strong, and John Bartholomew and Sean Nagel. So Nagel in particular, he went 4-0 one week. That's just for a board 4 in the Pro Chess League when you're playing Grandmaster after Grandmaster. That's
amazing. I've never even heard of such a thing.
Yeah, and Fabi, on the other hand, went 4-0 this week. He should have lost to Advait Patel, won that game, struggled against Sergei Ehrenberg, won that game. So I'm going to have to kind of, rib him a little bit later. And he and I are friends and we talk, so I'm going to have to ask him if this was how he planned to warm up for the candidate match. But he's gone 12-0 in the last 2 weeks. He went 8-0 at Super Saturday. He went 4-0 tonight. So Fabiano Caruana proving that he is, well, at least a front runner for the Pro Chess League Most Valuable Player Award, because going 4-0 week after week is just, I wish I could be able to perform that well.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say from what I've seen tonight, I can see though why Pittsburgh is at the top, and why they managed to tie Webster now. They really played a good match tonight, and I would say as a team, I really like them. I think they've got a nice mix, of this young player that everyone wants to watch, a Wonder Liang. They've got like the veteran that everyone likes to watch, Alexander Shabalov. And they've got these two overperforming, boards 3 and 4. So I kind of like this team a lot going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if Wonderland keeps performing at the pace he has, it's just nobody can stop him. The sky's the limit. And it's honestly good experience for him, though it is a rapid format for the U.S. Chess Championship, which
Yeah.
will be his first, I believe, his first U.S. Championship. So he will look to make a strong showing there. And he honestly can take a lot of confidence from this league with him into the over-the-board chess.
But it wasn't a bad night for the St. Louis Archbishops either.
No, not at all.
Did you say that Fabiano got 4 out of 4 tonight?
Yes, he did.
Wow. Okay. Well, he's scoring close to the max.
Oh, his performance is through the roof, and it's actually, if you look at the standings there, and I've left them up for everyone to see, that the fact that St. Louis has 93.5 game points, which is the highest performing team. Right,
Yeah.
they may have 3 losses as a team, but they just struggled at the beginning of the season, and they have come back with a vengeance. They're saying that they're the team to beat because they lost the first week and tied the second week, and now all of a sudden they lost to Pittsburgh head-to-head, but dominating performance tonight. Overall, they had a dominating performance at Super Saturday, and they play Buenos Aires next week, so I think we know how that one's going to go.
Yes. We know that. And Pittsburgh is playing Miami next week. So that's a pretty favorable matchup for them as well. I mean, pretty much all the teams are, they're kind of pared down to someone lower than them in the rankings. They're not playing amongst each other next week.
Right. And,
they'll have a chance to kind of keep everything as it is.
The good news, though, is with this format that even teams in last place are not going to be just quitting because they'll be relegated. So, for example, Miami has everything to play for. If they win and Montreal does not, then Miami jumps over them in the standings, and thus Montreal is kicked into the relegated territory. And same with Montclair. So Miami,
so they all had something to play for, only except Buenos Aires.
Yeah, Buenos Aires is totally out.
This result is not commensurate with their level, I think.
Yeah, no,
they're not such a bad team that they should be getting like half out of 8 matches.
Right. And I want to say, for people who are asking, they say, oh, does relegation make sense for a single league? Well, the thing is, there's not a second league that they're relegated to. They have the chance to qualify once again next season. But very importantly, as this league continues to grow, there are teams like Irina. I don't know about you, but off the top of my head, there could be 3 more teams from Russia that would be amazing. Another team from China that would be great. Teams from Spain, right? There's so many different countries. Ukraine. That don't have team. Azerbaijan, you're right. Mamedyarov is playing for San Jose, as is Rauf Mamedov. So all these countries and different cities can have teams that will be quite strong. And so there is incentive for these teams to stay in the league. And if not, they're going to have a difficult time qualifying, because even Chengdu, I believe, sent 2 teams to the qualifier this year, and only one of them made it through. So it's a good showing. And next up is the Pacific Division, and I want to bring up the standings for that really quickly. Chengdu, Panda's the top, San Diego and Dallas tied with them. And Irina, the kind of the question I have, a couple questions, is one is, do we think Hikaru Nakamura can go 4-0 against a lineup in San Jose of Naroditsky, Izoria, Cameron Wheeler, and Fike Aleskarov?
Yes, if you would have said Mamedyarov in that lineup, I would have said no. I mean, of course he can, even with that lineup, but no, I mean, he's got good chances to go 4-0 tonight.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And unfortunately for him, the Seattle Sluggers is out of contention, because if you look at the standings, the 4th place team is 5-2, and I'm actually anticipating the first sighting of Tan Zhongyi, women's world champion. She is playing for Australia. So Australia, not only do they have these youngsters like Anton Smirnov who are playing out of their minds, they've brought in a free agent in Tan Zhongyi, who is actually quite well known for her rapid chess prowess. So not only is she the women's world champion, but she can play with the best of them in the quicker time control. And she'll have her hands full with Alexei Dreyev and Sam Sevian of the San Diego Surfers. But I always love Australia's balanced team, because their board 1 this week is 25-23 in Tan Zhongyi. Their board 4 is 24-68. So very evenly spread in terms of ratings.
How is Australia doing? They're in the 4th place. Okay.
Yeah, so San Jose needs to beat Seattle this week, and I'm a little bit surprised. I guess Mamedyarov and Mamedov and these players are busy, because Mamedov is playing in the Aeroflot Open, I believe. So some of them are busy, but they'll be needed. Naroditsky will have to hold his own against Nakamura, and San Jose desperately needs this win. They cannot afford to not win this one. So with that,
I
Irina,
would like to see San Jose go through just because I really like watching Mamadjarov's games. Just an exciting player.
No, he's fantastic to watch. He can beat anybody in the world, and he can also lose to a lot of people because somehow his style is so risky. And Irina, it looks like we're wrapping up here so that the Pacific Division can come. The commentators can take over from us. I put our cameras back on so everyone can see our very tired faces after hours and hours of commentary. But
now we can go to being spectators, Robert.
I know. I have the Twitch app on my TV. I'm going to put my legs up on the couch and watch the Pacific Division without having to worry about if what I'm saying makes sense. So everybody, thank you again for tuning in. Stay there. Stay on Twitch. Stay on chess.com/TV. It's been a great round. Irina, it's been an absolute pleasure doing commentary with you. And with that, we'll bid everyone adieu.
Thank you, Robert. Have a good night, everyone.